betting reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Patrick Meagher, Dustin Swedelson, VSiN Live.
All right, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, as we say hi. What is it? Wednesday, April 2. Nia Hardman, New York City. Ryan Smith, Las Vegas. The big guy, Las Vegas. I'm Patrick Meagher, live from Los Angeles. So we got you covered across the country. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646 on the phone. Remember, you can find us, stream us on YouTube. Do us a favor, hit subscribe, hit thumbs up. It helps us with the algorithm at VSiN Live on YouTube. Remember, also, YouTube's your place for our boys Aaron Halterman and Mike Somich with the horse racing show leading up to the Kentucky Derby on Fridays. So make sure you check that out as well. A lot to do over at the VSiN YouTube page. Somebody do me a favor. Now, we're going to have a theme to start the program, and that's greatness. And we'll get into the theme here in just a bit. We do have Aaron Halterman stopping by, Noops with some props, and Scott Spreitzer, professional handicapper, dropping by as well. I just heard my man Steve Torrey talking about the Knicks. And Steve, if you can hear me, can't get to Saturday quick enough, buddy. I mean, if there's one thing that Steve cannot stand, that is the NBA. So the idea or the concept that he's grinding about the Knicks on the way out, kicking over to these two donks, that's unbelievable. And I heard him on the air. He sounded great. But when he got off the air, I don't know if my man's going through it with the back. I don't know if my man's going through it with a cold, but he sounded like he was on death's door. Tori, if you hear me, just text me you're okay, because I'm a little concerned as he's talking Knicks basketball. We say hi. The big guy, Dustin Swedelson. No need for shtick as we say hi. What's going on there, big guy?
Well, no, you're right. Steve Torrey does hate the NBA because you know what he just did for an hour? And now, granted, he had full lines the whole show. The three-point shot has ruined the NBA. That was what today's theme was. And there's an argument to be made there. There's also an argument on the other side. I just want to point out that Steve Torrey does hate the NBA. That's why he just said the three-point shot ruined it for him.
Okay, well, the theme is greatness. My assumption is they were talking about what happened last night. So
yes.
A couple of things. One, the Dodgers. We're going to get into it because get ready for an FU tour. And this is for Christopher Mad Dog Russo as well, who hates the Dodgers. I don't know what the Dodgers did to him. I know it's a Brooklyn thing. I know it's a Giants thing. But he hates the Dodgers, and I guess he just hates greatness. He hates the best mind in baseball, Andrew Friedman. Andrew, text us back. We want to have you on the program. Where you at? I mean, you've been on plenty. Let's get you back on. He is the president here in Los Angeles with the Dodgers, but the Dodgers have started 7-0. They have tied to 33 Yankees. A pretty good team. You know, Ruth, Gehrig, they've tied to 33 Yankees as the best start for a reigning champ. The Dodgers have beaten 2 reigning Cy Young. Skubal touched him. Of course, Sale last night touched him. And by the way, they've been doing this without consistently Freeman and Betts in the lineup. I'm going to tell you something right now, and I can tell you because I'm here in Los Angeles. This is an FU tour, and get prepared. And if you're an 0-1, if you're Martinez, if you're Jay Bruner, if you're Ken Griffey Jr., if you are an 0-1 Mariner, Piniella, if you're an 0-1 Mariner, get ready for that 116 to be in the rear view. Because the conversation, and that includes you, dog, the conversation, and that includes you, Rob Manfred, who probably hates greatness as well. He probably hates the Dodgers. Who wants an LA team in the World Series, Robert? But that includes everybody that's hating on this team leading up to the season. Oh, the Dodgers have ruined baseball. Can you believe they spent money? Yeah, what a concept in a capitalistic society. They spent money. They have a better scouting department than you do. They have a better farm system than you do. They build from the inside, and then they add pieces. And I'm telling you right now, and I know somebody connected to the organization, they've heard everything. They've heard the whispers, and this 7-0 start is not a mistake. Because when I tell you they're not going to take the foot off the gas this year, this is going to be something to watch. They're not going to take the foot off the gas till they get to 117. Mark it, April. So what does Adam say? Cut the tape. Cut the tape. Check it. April 2nd, mark it right now. I let you know they're going to. And again, this is when we get into June, when we get into July, when we get into August, when everybody's chilling. They won't be doing that because they heard the whispers about the COVID championship not being legit. They heard your boy Manfred talking about tossing around that piece of metal. They heard, last year, okay, they finally got one, but what about the decade of winning the division and doing nothing with it once they got to the postseason? They've heard that they had to add Ohtani just to do it. They've heard everything. And the Los Angeles Dodgers are not happy about it. By the way, they've got the best venue in baseball. You can take Fenway and you can take Wrigley and you can have a little fun with it because they're cute. They're cute parks. But when you're talking about the mountains in the background and that golden hour over here at Dodger Stadium, that's on a different level, folks. And so is this baseball team. They are 7-0. And by the way, 7-0 on 2 continents. Okay, a little bit of travel. People bitch about the travel. Oh, the Dodgers, they're 7-0. They played in Japan, people, and then they came back and they beat the Detroit Tigers are a playoff team. They swept them. The Atlanta this is right now an FU tour that is going to continue well into the summer. So get your popcorn, get your seatbelt on, Steve Torrey, and have a little fun with it. And that includes you, JT the Brick.
By the way, the Atlanta Braves are the second shot in the National League to win this league. So think about that. They're owning Atlanta right now, and Atlanta is, quote unquote, according to the market, the next best team. Everything you said true about the Dodgers. They're built differently this year. They're built with backup plans when it comes to the rotation. And no one anticipated Dustin May coming back and looking like a Cy Young candidate game 1. Him in the bullpen, 3-hit Atlanta Braves lineup that is really, really deep. The Los Angeles Dodgers, I'm putting it at 114.5. I will go over that. I agree with you. They're going to go and challenge 116. The only thing stopping them is that they have bigger goals ahead. The bigger goal is winning another one and another one and another one. That's all they care about there with the Dodgers.
Yeah, I think it's a Golden State Warrior vibe where they were chasing the Bulls, remember, for the regular season wins, and they went all out to do it. I think because of the bitching and complaining by the media, there's even, and again, this is a very transient town, Los Angeles, so you hear it on local radio. You hear people bitching about how the Dodgers spent. They're not letting anybody else in the race. They've heard it. And instead of turning away from it, they're running right into it. And I love to see it. Again, they're 7-0. And frankly, if you look at the numbers, they're not even playing that well. So that's probably a bit of a warning to the rest of Major League Baseball as well.
Yeah, I just don't understand people hating the Dodgers. That I guess that's my issue with everything. Everyone wants to hate the Dodgers, but you don't want to hate teams like the Pirates that never spend, teams like the Twins who never lock up guys, end up trading them down the road. I don't understand the hatred for the Dodgers. What they're doing is American. They're trying. They're going for it. They're capitalizing on opportunities. It's all these other small organizations. The Milwaukee Brewers always doing more with less. Those ownership groups all make money. They make a ton of money with the revenue sharing. They can put out a better product. The difference is the Dodgers are willing to double down.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Dodgers do have, but it's not by a considerable margin. They've got the biggest payroll in baseball. Philly's right there. The Mets are right there. Toronto's right there. Let's use Toronto as a pitiful organization that spends and spends and spends and hasn't made the postseason. See, that is where you should be focusing your ire. You should be focusing your ire on incompetence. And then Dustin said it as you move down to the bottom as far as payroll. What is a team doing in Miami? I repeat, with that ownership group, what is a team doing in Miami? Tampa Bay, all right, it's a scrappy team. They're 29 in payroll. Chicago, is that a big city? Because it's called the second city, and they're 28 in payroll. You think that's acceptable? Why aren't we going after Reinsdorf? Why aren't we going after the Athletics who are playing in West Sacramento with a dude that is an owner that is derelict to his staff? And I'm not just talking about the baseball team. I'm talking about administrative. Why aren't we going after these teams? Why aren't we going after, as you mentioned, a guy, Paul Skeens is on the Pittsburgh Pirates. They're 25 in payroll. Cleveland's a big city. They're 24. Milwaukee, Cincinnati, you go on and on and on. That is who we should be bitching about, not a team that wants greatness. And that is the theme today, greatness. And the Dodgers certainly chasing it. And we're going to get to the NBA as we saw a display of greatness last night that transcends. which we will do. But this is a transcendent baseball team, and we said it before the season started. Do we expect a 7-0 start? No, we haven't seen it for a reigning champ since 33. Were you around? Allen White Plains? Were you there? You're probably going to call and tell me you were, Bill and Chevy Chase. All right. Now, everybody just settle down with being pissed off about it because it's about to get uglier. I assure you. That's what I'm telling you. Because I'm not even flexing because I don't even have any friends, but I do have one friend directly in the organization. And he said, the antennas are up. So get ready, Chris. Get ready, Steve Torrey. If Steve Torrey's sick now, wait until July.
Oh, wait until all the torpedo bats aren't able to hit any of the pitches the Dodgers are throwing in another World Series. We literally have the rest of the league inventing new bats to try and beat the Dodgers at this point.
Well, if torpedo bats, the Dodgers could run out there with toothpicks and still beat these teams. All right? So you fatten up your bat and fatten up your excuses as we get closer and closer to postseason time in baseball. What are the numbers? I'm just curious.
Can I throw some stupid
give me the
numbers
pennant numbers and give me the overall numbers there, big guy.
Okay, real quick, I want to give you a few stupid numbers before we get to that. Team to record 100-plus wins, the Dodgers are minus 310 to win 100 games. They're minus 500 to have the best record in baseball. When it comes to World Series, they're plus 250. To win the National League, they are plus 140. And to win the NL West, they are currently minus 550.
The concept that 100 wins is $3.10 to win $1, and the concept that on April 2 to win their division with tremendous base, have the Padres lost? Have the Friars lost yet? I don't think so. And they're a $5 favorite to win the division. Dumb. Insanity.
Well, I'll tell you something that's even dumber is minus 310 to win 100 games is actually a good value. I think if you put $1,000 to win 300, that feels like lock of the century. Dodgers to win 100 games.
There is less than a 0% chance that
that's
they
what
win.
I'm saying.
It's really just about 117. And remember what was it 72 with the Bulls and 71, 72 somewhere in there with the Bulls and Warriors where the Warriors were chasing. So that is what I thought about that today on the walk. You know, with Jeezy, it's windy here in Los Angeles. First world problems. But we were walking and I started thinking, I was like, what does this remind me of? Because we have such an analytic, like, John Morant doesn't play basketball because they're saving him for the postseason. Oh, and they're saving him to eliminate another coach. But the concept of resting and the concept of saving players for the postseason because it's inefficient over 82 in basketball. I was thinking, we haven't seen with the newfangled metrics, we haven't seen a team really push it in a while since the Warriors, and that's what I think this is a facsimile of this year, the Dodgers pushing it.
Well, now, baseball's a little bit different, especially with arms and injuries and managing innings and the thresholds that these teams are looking for. I would point out that Warriors team that won 73 games did not win the title that year.
That is the point. See that, but we gave them credit. You can point it out all you want.
I get what you're saying about the win.
Credit at the time for caring.
Yes,
that's my point.
Yes,
and so this team is going to do the exact same thing, and I'm looking forward to it. And by the way, you mentioned injuries. You mentioned resting players. They can do that because their backups are better than everybody else as well.
They're going to get Tony Gonsolin is like starting pitcher 8 or 9 for them. They're going to get him back at some point this year. They legitimately have like 12 to 13 guys who could start games if people go down during the season.
Seattle's a big city. They're playing my Tigers.
They're embarrassing.
And they're an embarrassing baseball team because we've talked about it. They've got the best rotation in baseball, and they just didn't spend on bats. That is disrespectful to a great fan base.
Everyone,
on and on.
Everyone should be mad at ownership like that says, you know what? We think we have enough to be competitive. Hold on. I thought the point was to win championships. Who just wants to be competitive? You've been competitive for a few years. How about you open up the wallet and you actually go for it? The Dodgers are not your enemy. The Dodgers are your friend. The Dodgers are the model you should want your team to follow. You should want your team to say, we have a window, we have a chance. Let's go balls to the wall and get every piece that we can get. Instead, teams like Seattle, teams like Pittsburgh, they go, well, we have a great superstar player under contract. We'll just rely on the fact that he makes nothing, and we'll do both. We'll claim we're going for it because they're transcendent, but at the same time, not really have to spend any money and lose any money this year.
I think it's an exciting aspect to the sport. And 888-623-3646. We start off the program here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio with greatness. And the Dodgers are first up. We'll get to the NBA here in a second. Remember, if you're betting baseball, you can go over to vsin.com/subscribe, sign up for 30 days right now. Get the picks, get the splits, get everything we offer. Use that promo code SIRIUS. But greatness. And I think, like, the Yankees are just, frankly, and no disrespect, I don't want to pile on Steve when he's not feeling well, but the Judges team, that is not a very good baseball team.
No.
And I think it's going to suss itself out as we continue the season. So we need, remember back in the day with the Jeter Yankees, where there was always something each year you could point to and say, the big bad Yankees, it's fun to root against them. Well, at least we're going to get that with the Dodgers this year. Now, I don't know what there is to hate about the city of Los Angeles. Everything's sunshine and roses here, legitimate and literally. However, and there's a nice team. There isn't somebody on the team that you don't like. All Shohei does is bring his dog to the park every day. What's hateable about that? Mookie's a great bowler. Dave Roberts gave me time when we went to Cactus League. I mean, come on.
Technically speaking, it is a team of cast-offs. It's technically, Mookie Betts was abandoned by the Boston Red Sox because they did not want to pay him. Shohei Ohtani was abandoned by the country of Japan. They did not have the resources necessary to keep their greatest natural asset. Teoscar Hernandez, the Blue Jays were like, yeah, we don't want you anymore. Freddie Freeman, his agent couldn't get a call back from the Atlanta Braves. Technically, anyone could have had all these people. The Dodgers just happened to have the foresight to make it happen.
Yeah, listen, I can't get into the politics. I don't know what happened with Japan and Shohei. I do, but Seattle could have had him.
100%. 100%.
It's closer to Japan than Seattle.
But the argument is they go out and buy the best players is just incorrect. They just take advantage of these opportunities that every other team in baseball had the chance to do.
All right. Yeah. I didn't want to belabor it, but I just did. So I apologize. 7-0. Again, beat Skubal, beat Sale. Freeman and Betts not consistently in the lineup, not playing that great, and they've tied the 33 Yankees best start for a rating champ. That was back in the day when your boy Ruth was out there getting STDs and Gehrig was plopping around the bases as well. All right, it's been a long time is what I'm trying to tell you. And listen, I'm not disparaging Babe Ruth. I did 100 book reports on him, and a lot of it came down to syphilis.
Wait, did he have syphilis for real?
No, but why do you always have to ruin it? Just let it be.
I didn't know.
You want to fact check me? You're gonna fact check me on an STD? Is that what you're doing here?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past him. It does fit for that era. Didn't Al Capone have it?
Let's just say the great Bambino was swinging more than one bat. Okay?
Yeah.
That he liked it. He would the man from Baltimore got loose.
Was not a laminated piece of lumber. I got it.
888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. If you had 20 minutes in getting fact checked by my co-host here on STDs, you can go ahead and put that on your bingo sheet. All right, let's get to the phones. 888-623-3640. And then we've got to get to what happened last night in the NBA. Because we were on the air when Steph was going absolutely nuclear. And then Jokic said, hold my beer. And later in the evening did something even crazier. I do have a conversation that I want to have about the MVP because it's starting to get goddamn ridiculous. So we'll have that conversation. I mentioned his name. His ears must have been burning. It's our buddy Bill and Chevy Chase. Hi, Bill.
Hi, Patrick. Hi, Dustin. Yeah, I'm like Beetlejuice. You say my name and I appear. Actually, and I wasn't around in 1933. Thank you very much. But I agree with you on the Dodgers, by the way. But interesting trivia fact that most people are probably not aware of, and assuming to the contrary. Who won the American League in 1933?
Ooh, pray tell.
The Washington Senators. It was not the New York Yankees.
Interesting.
Now That's not going to be the Dodgers' fate. I agree with you. The only reason as a Mets fan, I don't hate the Dodgers. I mean, I do from a competitive standpoint, but and I've said this to Mad Dog before, I'm jealous of the Dodgers. Steve Cohen spends a lot of money too. The Dodgers spend it better, all right? And that's what they do. How can anybody, and I don't mind dominance at all. And let me give you an over-under that I was talking to Mad Dog about the other day. It kind of assumes they do win the championship, but 5.5, the number of games they will lose in the postseason this year.
That's a good number. As soon as he said 5.5, good job, Bill. As soon as he said 5.5, I knew you were setting the number on losses in the postseason. Listen, health is going to matter come that time of the year. Let's just say this. Remember when Dustin told you that they're a minus $5 favorite, so you got to bet $5 to win $1 to win the division? The NL West right now, the Dodgers are 7-0. The Padres are 7-0. The Giants are 4-1. Arizona's 3-2. If you exclude the Colorado Rockies, the West is 21-3. And the Dodgers are a $5 favorite to win it? People, we've lost our minds.
And the Arizona Diamondbacks currently up 2-0 on the Yankees, bottom one, thanks to a 2-run home run, Lourdes Gurriel. We did go over team total, 3.5 runs on the Diamondbacks today. And on Bill's point about the postseason losses, you have to think about it from a rotation perspective. They're going to line up Yamamoto, Snell, Glasnow, by the way, Ohtani at some point in the rotation for the postseason. Yeah, they're not losing 6 postseason games.
As I look over to my little calls here, it looks like I've been put on a shot clock by caller on line 3. So I will go to him now as to not to perturb Al in White Plains. Al, a little shot clock here?
Indeed you are, Buster. What is with the anger? All right?
I'm not angry.
The 1933 slap in the face. I was born, but I don't remember. I'm just kidding.
Are you pissed about this team?
Pissed. I love this. You know I'm a Cardinal fan. I love my Cardinals. I said when he was hired, right, that Andrew Friedman is going from playing with coach change money to monopoly money. Now watch what happens. And now you've seen it. He is brilliant. He is a genius in terms of putting together a scouting system. He did it in Tampa in putting together coaching, drafting, whether it's local as in stateside, whether it's the foreign players, whether it's the Dominican or Hispanic players. He is a baseball and management savant. This team and this organization is a juggernaut. Of course they have more revenue because they're in LA, but they also draw more than anybody else because people want to go see their product because they have a beautiful ballpark in a beautiful area and they treat their players well and they treat their coaches well. And oh, by the way, everybody wants to go there just because everybody wants to play for the Lakers. All right. Everybody wants to go there. Why? Well, it's because it's 80 and sunny all the time. And oh, by the way, look out at those mountains and look at those uniforms and look at the manager who is a player's manager and a great manager. It's the perfect scenario. I wish my team was like that. And oh, by the way, we got money to burn because of the great revenue that we have. And Rob Manfred, I hope they stick it, if the Cardinals don't, I hope they stick it where the sun don't shine on you and bear issues some more. While we've got 2 organizations playing in minor league parks on your watch, which is an embarrassment. Did you see their press room in Sacramento? It's a shed. It's a tool shed. Complete in bed. You should be in bed. Run and hide. Just go away. This team is a juggernaut. You should be proud of them. You should be proud of what they built. They are brilliant. I don't know what the under-over is for postseason losses, and it doesn't matter because all that matters in the postseason is that you win, and that's all they will do. They will win and win and win because they are put together in the perfect fashion. They are an organization that everyone, high, middle, low revenue, should do everything they can to emulate. It's about drafting, developing, scouting, and hiring people who know what they're doing and want to put their nose to the grindstone. And oh, by the way, pay them for what they do.
There you go. Al, good job. Be careful turning. Heard the blinker. Let me do this. Let me just go back to 13. All right. The year I moved here to Los Angeles, and let's just see what the Dodgers have done since then. And we'll frame it. We'll put some context around this because were the Dodgers pissing you off then with the way that they were spending? Let's have some fun. Little extra. Oh, and by the way, shouldn't we care that people are going to the park because they lead the league in attendance every single year? Let's go to 13 and let's just build up to this year. Dustin, hold on to your asshole because this is about to get fun. 13, 92 wins, lost in the NLCS. 14, by the way, first place every single year.
Oh, okay.
14,
I was going to count how many years they make the playoffs. It's every year. Okay.
Hold on. 14, 94 wins, lost in the NLDS. 15, 92 wins, lost in the NLDS. 16, 91 wins, lost in the NLCS. 17, 104 wins, lost in the World Series. 18, 92 wins, lost in the World Series. 19, 106 wins, lost in the NLDS. 20, 43 wins, COVID, won the World Series. 21, 106 wins, lost in the NLCS. 22, 111 wins, people, lost in the NLDS. 23, 100 wins, lost in the NLDS. 24, 98 wins, won the World Series. I'm tired. They're not.
Think about
I just gave you back 12 years. And nobody back in 2013 was like, what a travesty. Can you believe what the Dodgers are doing to the sport? Yet they've done the exact same thing for 12 straight years, is win the division and get to the postseason. And by the time you get to the postseason, everybody knows it's a freaking crapshoot. And they won 2 World Series in that span and been to 2 others.
And how about this? We talk about the complacency of these other organizations and their unwillingness to do things. How about the Dodgers? 3 years in a row, they win the division, and then they fire Don Mattingly, and they bring in Dave Roberts. That kind of lets you know the expectation of what they're trying to do here. This is an organization that wants to win the whole thing. It's not good enough winning 92 games and getting knocked out of the divisional series. They wanted to take the next step. They brought in Dave Roberts, and he's done that now a couple times. But we think about these other teams in the league. They're not willing to do the extra. They're not willing to spend a little bit more, to think outside the box, to take the risks the Dodgers are taking. That's why no one should hate this team. They should be what your team is following.
Listen, and Al said it. That right there is Andrew Friedman. You don't go on a 12. This is dynastic. It's officially a dynasty. You don't go on a 12-year run, win the division every single year, and win close to 100 games every year because you're outspending people. Do you know how hard it is year after year to keep a farm system together? Do you know how hard it is year after year to find a Max Muncy who other teams didn't want? Do you know how hard it is year after year to get rid of what's the tall donk that I told was getting the MVP?
Cody Bellinger.
Bellinger, you know how hard it is to get off a player like that who you raised through your farm system at the right time? You know how hard these decisions are? I'm telling you right now, I'm not going hard enough on this. When I read off what's happened since 2013, it actually blew my mind.
This is the model organization of sports, not just baseball, because they're not buying people. That's not what they're doing. They have a farm system that's so freaking loaded, they can make trades for Tyler Glass now. They can go make deals for guys around the league, Tommy Edman, to help them put them over the top to win the World Series, to make the trade for Mookie Betts with Boston. They have an embarrassment of riches because they are good at developing. They do everything the small market teams do, but they do it better. They just use it in a different way where they use those pieces to get talent that's ready to help them win right now.
Yeah, just level up. Isn't that what the kids say? Level up. Do a better job. All right, I'll get off the Dodgers. Just understand greatness and understand that anybody that's hating, Chris, it's just bitterness. Literally bitterness. Oh, right now, 2025 attendance. Who's leading Major League Baseball? The Dodgers. And Baltimore's not even really that close in second. So, again, you have a fan base that gives a shit. Part of my language. You have an organization that cares. yet we're supposed to be upset about it. What are we doing? Go to Philadelphia and have fun with the basketball team. Have fun with dudes that can't even play. Like, we're not even talking about the same. We're not even talking about athletics. You understand? We're not even talking about the same thing. One is a sport where dudes are literally just sitting. The other is a sport that's been a 12-year run of 100 wins, 2 World Series, and 2 losses in a World Series, and we're upset about it. You got to be kidding me.
You haven't watched a postseason game in 12 years or a postseason that didn't involve the Dodgers. 12 years. I mean, that's a long freaking time. Even the Yankees, you brought them up earlier, even that run ended. And that was not 10, 12 years of always in the postseason, always in the World Series type stuff.
I can assure you, as long as Andrew Friedman is here, friend of the show, I can assure you, as long as Andrew Friedman is here, this will not go away. He's too erudite. He's too smart. He's better than everybody else. And Al was right. He was doing this in Tampa.
No.
All he came and got some real bullets in Los Angeles. Said, hold my effing beer because I'm about to go on a freaking torrid run for a decade plus.
Tampa was like being in the on deck circle and swinging a bat with a donut on it. It weighs so much more. All of a sudden he gets to LA and they get to take the donut off the bat and he's swinging 120 miles an hour. That's what happened there. He was completely restricted and had to think outside the box, had to be more advanced than everyone else. Goes to LA and it's like, we'll give you money. You can spend, but we still want you to do what you do. And he's absolutely has his fingerprints all over every aspect of the Dodgers right now. You're right. That's why they're successful.
I'm just having fun with it. Like 24 attendance, the Dodgers won. They averaged 7,000 more than the Yankees. 23, the Dodgers won, averaged 7,000 more than the Yankees. This is New York, people. A lot more people in New York than there are in Los Angeles. 22, Dodgers won, 7,000 more than St. Louis, Al. 20, Dodgers won. Well, that was COVID, but you feel me.
Oh, and hot take. Bronx, Yankee Stadium, easier to get to for New Yorkers than Dodger Stadium.
Getting in and out of Dodger Stadium is like solving a Rubik's Cube with your eyes, with a blindfold on. It's my favorite park on the planet. I can't go because I just don't have the patience to get up and down the freaking hill.
No, you got to clear your schedule because it takes forever.
888-623-3646. All right, that's greatness with baseball. When we return, greatness in the NBA. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. I was taking some shots today because at random emails from people I didn't even know, a couple of texts from people I hadn't heard from in a while, because the show got a little squirrely. The show got a little loose towards the end of the program last night, which tends to happen. And somehow, and again, this is on you, not me, for being clean. Somehow it came out that I don't wear underwear, nor do I wear deodorant. And people had major issues with it. And listen, I'm going to stand on my 10 toes and be very clear with you. I am clean. Up and down, always been clean, always will be clean. There is no need for an extra layer between what God gave me and some dungarees. And another thing, deodorant is government scam. And I'm not even a conspiracy theorist. I'm not political. I don't believe in Bigfoot. I don't believe the moon is made of cheese. I don't believe the earth is flat. I just know that when I stopped using deodorant, I stopped sweating.
Yeah, I think people aren't saying you're dirty. They're saying your pants are dirty because there's nothing stopping what drips down from that.
There's no dripping. I don't know why you keep on using that word, dripping. Anyway. Well, we'll move on. I just wanted to bring that up. I've been taking some shots, and I'm man enough to take them. All right,
hey,
bring them all my way.
We can't accuse you of being too big for your britches because you don't wear any.
There are no britches. Right now, I got some really comfortable jogging pants on, and you know what's hitting it? My ass. All right, so we talked about the theme is greatness, and the Dodgers 7-0. We're on the team total tonight. Hey, Dustin brought this up, so I was just looking. The NBA tonight. Now, I understand it's towards the end of the year, but Adam Silver's got a problem on his hands because I'm looking at the NBA tonight. Good games. The Heat at the Celtics. The Celtics are 10.5-point favorites. The Jazz are at the Rockets. The Jazz started giving up game one. The Rockets are 16.5-point favorites. Just giving you context to give you an understanding of what the sport is about right now. The Pistons are at the Thunder. The Thunder are 12.5-point favorites. And the Pelicans are at the Clippers later tonight. Pretty competitive. The Clippers are 17.5-point favorites.
Dude.
So the expectation is that the Clippers win by 18.
The season is too long, and has anyone running any business of any sort had a bigger fall from grace than Adam freaking Silver? I'm actually going to go out on a limb, and we take a lot of shots over here at Rob Manfred. I'm going to say that Rob Manfred might be in better standing in his sport right now than what Adam Silver has done to the NBA over the last few years. The fact that we have this many back-to-backs and inconsequential games because so many teams are tanking, hoping to draft Cooper Flagg. They don't care about where they stand in the playoffs. There's no buzz for wanting to be that number 2 seed in the West. Everyone's just saying, yeah, fine. We won't have home court advantage for a series or two, but we'll find a way to win. The NBA down the stretch, they have a major problem on their hands, and the only thing they should be thinking about doing is shortening the season and banning the back-to-backs.
Well, remember, the Adam Silver thing. For one thing, Adam Silver did two things right. One, he was very open and transparent that he wanted betting to be a part of his sport. And now betting is omnipresent. People have decided to drop the charade. There isn't a taboo associated with it. If you're a grown-ass adult, you want to lose, you want to win, go ahead and have some fun. It's called America. Make it great. And then the second thing he did was his timing was impeccable because he came in when that racist-ass Donald Sterling was acting a fool in Los Angeles, and he said, you got to go, and everybody was like, Adam Silver's a hero because he handled something with common sense. Since then, it's been downhill for your buddy because here's the thing. When you employ somebody like Silver, who is a hippie, he's over here, he wants to be friendly with everybody. When you employ him with a team, with a sport that's already player empowered, you're screwed. Stern was perfect for the NBA because Stern didn't give a crap about people's feelings, including the players. Remember when he made Allen Iverson wear a suit?
No, he was a dick. Stern was a dick. And you know what? Sometimes your leader needs to be one. They need to tell you things you don't want to hear. You can't have the person in charge of everything bending over backwards to make sure you're okay. That makes you feel good on the inside, but you know what it hurts? Hurts the product of the league as a whole.
Yeah, 100%. Now, greatness is the theme. Dodgers 7-0. Let's go to last night. And again, Steph is very similar to the Dodgers, where for some unknown reason, people love to take shots at him. Whether it's because he's half black and half white, whether it's because his dad was in the NBA and he grew up bougie, I don't know what it is, because he's one of the toughest players the league has ever seen. He's one of the most durable players the league has ever seen. And at 37 years old, he's still one of the greatest players the league has ever seen. And last night, at the half, he had 32, 7, and 5 down in Memphis. He ended up with 52 points, 10 rebounds, 8 assists, and 5 steals. People, 12 three-pointers made. This is one of the great players we've ever seen. We should enjoy it while it's happening right in front of us. It's also a player that is, if you care about sportsmanship, there hasn't been a more sportsman-like human being in any sport we've seen our whole entire lives, where he acquiesced. Remember, he didn't win the MVP. It was KD. He didn't win the MVP. It was that other donk. Who was it? You remember? Can't remember his name.
What year?
Pick me an never mind. He acquiesces nonstop to his teammates. It's never about him. He's somehow able to corral the personalities like a Draymond Green, and that's his 27th game with at least 10 three-pointers made, which is by far a record. Last night, he could have gone for 60. He didn't. That brings us to another level of greatness, and that's Jokic, who did go for 60 last night in a loss. And Anthony Edwards should get some flowers here as well. Jokic and Steph, however you want to line them up. And again, I understand once you get to that like 7 through 10, it gets very hard starting to eliminate an Oscar Robertson. It gets very hard trying to eliminate a Shaq and a Tim Duncan when you get to that level. But Jokic and Steph, by the time it's done, it's going to be impossible for them not to be in the mix. Because Jokic, last night, 61, 10, and 10. He is going to be the third player to average a triple-double, but his true shooting numbers are better than Oscar, obviously better than Russell Westbrook. Those were Fugazi. This year, he's averaging 30 points, 12.8 rebounds, and 10.2 assists. He's shooting almost 42% from three. 7 foot. One of the great passers the league has ever seen. He is... You said it yesterday, because maybe it seems like he doesn't care about basketball. I think it's just a cultural thing. I think people from that part of the country that part of the world, pardon me, are so hardened. They just don't get too excited. They don't get too up. They don't get too down. They're just medium all the time. I think that's just his temperament. He is not a person that's flashy. He's not a person a la Steph that really cares about the spotlight, but he is having maybe the greatest season in 80-plus years of NBA basketball. And oh, by the way, he's not going to win the MVP, which is fascinating. Because if you take Jokic off of the Nuggets, that's a lottery team. If you take SGA off of Oklahoma City, they'd compete for the 1 seed. Let me repeat. And by the way, Dustin knows this because I've come around on Oklahoma City. I all of a sudden think they're the 87 Celtics. Dustin knows how much I love Oklahoma City, and he knows how much SGA is otherworldly, and he's having a great year. But again, I believe if you took Jokic, I thought about it this morning, if you took Jokic, Dustin off the Nuggets, that's a lottery team easily. And I truly believe if you take SGA off this Thunder team, they would compete. They'd definitely be a top 3 seed, and they'd compete for the 1 seed in the West. Who's the MVP?
Well, to add to your, first off, I want to add to your Steph thing, because the comparison to the Dodgers triggered something. It's absolutely perfect. The entire NBA now, all of these teams, once Steph Curry popped on the scene, they all went back to the drawing board and said, hold on, we're not all going to be able to find a 7-footer. We're all not going to be able to find a LeBron James freak athlete. But you know what we can find? We can find three-point shooters. And now the entire league is chasing Steph Curry and his ability to score from everywhere, which is what every Major League Baseball team should be doing with the Dodgers in terms of winning the war on multiple fronts. 1, spend money. 2, develop the prospects that you can, 1, use, but also use it in trades to get superstars, and then 3, talent development. The way they found diamonds in the roughs like Chris Taylor and Max Muncy and created something out of them, because they're doing it in a variety of ways. Teams in the NBA are now trying to find their own Steph Curry. And now when it comes to Jokic, you're absolutely right. That Denver Nuggets team, we're going to look back on what they've done from a front office perspective and realize that they're not capitalizing on an opportunity properly. That is a bunch of bums on that bench for the Denver Nuggets. And Jokic is carrying them every single night. Nobody in that lineup plays defense. However, I'm now at the point with Nikola Jokic. I'm 40 years old. I was born in 1985. I've had some real hard truths when it comes to greatest basketball players I've ever watched. Forever, Michael Jordan, right? LeBron became number 2. And as long as I can remember being alive, I caught the tail end of Magic and Bird. They were 3 and 4. I have seen enough. It's over. Nikola Jokic is now number 3 for me. Most dominant player I have ever watched play in the NBA. He affects the game in a way that no one else we've ever seen. He is not just a great scorer. He is the best passer in basketball right now. He's also an elite rebounder, but the way everything runs through him, he is now to me the 3rd greatest player I've ever watched play with my own eyeballs.
There you go. It's well put. Now, do you have the MVP odds? Because
Yes,
here's the thing
I
about
do.
the MVP. Here's the thing about the MVP. It generally goes to the best player on the best team. And I'll give you an example historically.
Yep.
Bill Russell. Bill Russell won an MVP when Wilt averaged 50 and 25.
Stupid. That's stupid. It's stupid.
Wilt Chamberlain, people, for a season, averaged 50 points and 25 boards, and Bill Russell won the MVP. So, best player, best team. Oscar, first ever to average a triple-double. Bill Russell won the MVP. You understand what I'm saying? So I understand that there's a precedent set for SGA to win the MVP. I'm not stupid.
Look, I know it's sacrilegious to say this on Christopher Russo's station, but I don't understand the intertwining of team achievements and personal achievements, how we hold it against the player because his team never won a title, as if there aren't 4 other guys in the starting lineup and a whole bench of people. So I also don't understand in the same respect, how come the best player on the best team is automatically what we think of for most valuable player? What if someone has the greatest season of all time and his team doesn't even make the playoffs? That doesn't make that player any less great or more dominant. It just means that his team stinks. You can't hold that against him. Right now, your odds, though, for the MVP says this thing's over. SGA is minus 2,000. You can get 9-1 on Nikola Jokic, meaning a $100 bet, you win 900 back. You're up 900. Minus 2,000 for SGA when he's going up against a guy in Jokic who's having arguably the greatest season we've ever seen from anyone in the history of basketball.
888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. You got Jokic or SGA? I want you to be honest with me. Jokic or SGA? You're voting today. Who's your MVP? It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
With Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Hey, props where props are due. Who trained Naya? She's about that business. Just tells us what's coming up, doesn't get in the way. Oftentimes you got people babbling like Jacob in your ear. You can't even focus. Naya, great job. Naya back in New York City. Ryan Smith, also tremendous, running our YouTube at VSiN Live. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. We were just talking about the MVP race. It's insane that SGA is minus 2,000. You know, you asked why, and I mentioned best player on the best team generally wins the MVP, and I used the two examples of Wilt averaging 50 and 25 and Bill Russell winning it, and then Oscar with the first ever average of a triple-double and Bill Russell winning it. So those are really good examples of the best player is going to win it. But it's almost like one of those things that becomes so antiquated and people just follow the herd. It's like I compare the MVP voting like the people that aren't using torpedo bats. It's like adding more wood to the barrel seems like something everybody should jump on board with. And just like the concept of switching up the idea that the value of a player, you take Jokic off the Nuggets, that's a lottery team. And you take SGA off, obviously, the Thunder, and they're a top 3 seed, potentially a 1 seed. Jokic is the MVP, and that takes nothing away from the greatness of SGA. Nothing.
No, it feels like the Electoral College. The Electoral College for elections was created because people couldn't get information easily. So they created this way to make it easier for everyone to vote the way they do. Feels like the thought process of the MVP is the best player on the best team because back in the day, it wasn't like they had NBA League Pass to vote on MVP. These guys saw guys once or twice a year if they were lucky when they came to their town or when they went there and their team was on the road and they had to cast their vote for someone. So they said, let me look at the standings. He's the best player. They're the best team. That gets my vote. We've evolved. We can watch these guys night in and night out. If you were starting an organization today and you wanted to hit the ground running and win a title, 100 out of 100 organizations are saying, I'm building around Jokic before they take SGA. And SGA is a superstar. He is awesome. But Nikola Jokic is unlike anything we've ever seen. He has already won a couple MVPs. He's won a title. And at this point in his career, we still do not have a Jokic. Remember, what was the guy with Kobe? The Kobe stopper? We don't have a single guy out there that's thought of as a Jokic stopper. We don't have a single game plan defensively to quote unquote slow him down. There isn't a plan to stop Jokic.
I don't think I'm going to be able to say anything.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, as we welcome you back. Let me just get you set up on what's happening tonight before we bring in our guest, Aaron Halterman, part of the family here. It's getaway day in baseball, so I mean, a ton of day baseball. Dustin Swedelson, of course. Your Mets are up 6-5 on the Marlins right now, bottom 11, so they went to extras there. But there's only one late game, and that is the Braves-Dodgers. We're actually on the over team total for the Dodgers, 4.5, which is coming up in about 36 minutes. But it must be getaway day in baseball, no doubt. A lot of basketball, not a lot of good games as basketball. Last night was the night when you had Steph going off against the Grizzlies, Jokic in a loss against Minnesota. As far as the hockey, shout the hockey, and Aaron Halterman loves him some hockey. But those are some dudes that are actually going to play every night. No resting. We're not playing that game. One thing to note about the NHL, Gretzky is going to be attending every Capitals game from here on out to see if Ovechkin catches him. He's 4 behind. The Caps, off a back-to-back last night, are in Carolina. As a puckhead, I know this. Carolina's great. They're rested, and they jumped out all over the Caps in the first period, 3-zippy, but your boy did take the over 5.5 in that one because the Caps defense has been leaky if you've been paying attention. All right? You understand what I'm saying? So that is that on the ice. The Blues, Aaron Halterman, beat the Red Wings last night. We did not touch the over, and that is that across the sports world as we do welcome you back. Remember, if you're betting those 3 sports, you go to VSiN.com/subscribe, use the promo code SIRIUS, and you get everything we offer for $1.58. Give it a try. I think you're going to like it and win some money. All right. Aaron Halterman, of course, RacingDudes.com. Many, many years, family, of course, and you can see him and Samich on at the races, at the track. I can never get the first
VSiN
part
at
right.
the track.
VSiN at the track. The road to the Kentucky Derby. And by the way, I hosted the show on Friday. I just can't remember. VSiN at the track, the road to the Kentucky Derby. All kidding aside, it's a great show. If you care about horse racing or you're just getting into horse racing, every Friday with Aaron Halterman, Mike Samich at VSiN Live on YouTube, 11:15 West, 2:15 East. So coming up this Friday, the road to the Kentucky Derby. And if you're going to watch one road to the Kentucky Derby, Aaron Halterman, it should be this one on Friday because this weekend's racing is freaking awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be the biggest weekend yet. We've got 3 100-point races towards the Kentucky Derby. Got the Santa Anita Derby coming up, the Bluegrass, and the Wood Memorial up at Aqueduct. So, look, I think we're going to see the Kentucky Derby winner this weekend. I think it's going to come from the Santa Anita Derby. It's only a field of 5, but they're superstars. You've got Journalism, you got Barnes, you got Citizen Bull. I think one of those 3 will win. I'm leaning towards Journalism, obviously, at this moment, but I think whoever wins that's going to be really tough to beat in Kentucky, especially after what we saw. I think we kind of thought we would see some superstars last weekend, Patrick, and we didn't really see it. We saw some solid performances, but not superstars. We're still waiting for that huge performance these last round of preps. Hopefully Santa Anita or maybe the Bluegrass or Wood brings it to us.
Yeah, and those paying attention on Mad Dog Sports Radio, the network actually gets into the Kentucky Derby. See, when we were doing the wrap, Tori and Cohen and everybody being invested in us doing Kentucky Derby coverage. So as Russo gets into it, he has Moss on every year, Randy Moss on every year, and others, trainers. So the network does get into it, but we are only, what'd you say, Dustin, yesterday, 32 days out?
Yeah, so we should be 31 days out from the Kentucky Derby, which is wild. I was looking at the field, Aaron. I saw some familiar names, and one made like my heart get warm. Bill Mott's got a good horse this year. Sovereignty, a good horse. Do we have a chance for Bill Mott to win another Kentucky Derby?
He certainly has a chance. Now, I will say this. I was bitterly disappointed last weekend. I don't know if you watched the race, Patrick, but Sovereignty gets second, and I was super high, and so were you, super high on Sovereignty when we were doing the show last weekend, and he ran a second in the Florida Derby that was not as inspiring as when he won the Fountain of Youth. He kind of just followed the horse that won the race to Pan Street. He kind of just followed him home. He stayed 2 lengths behind him pretty much the whole time. So I was a bit disappointed about that, but this is what I'll tell you guys. And Dustin, you'll like it. And I know, Patrick, you like Bill Mott too. You'll like me saying this. Nobody is better at getting their horse to run their biggest race on the biggest day than Bill Mott. He's the best in the country currently at doing that. So while I sit here and I say I was a little disappointed with what we saw in the Florida Derby, I still have it in the back of my mind. It's like, listen, this is one of the true geniuses in horse racing that's still left out there that's training. He will get that horse to run better in Kentucky. How much better, and is it going to be good enough? I'm still kind of skeptical after that performance, but he'll run better. We're all rooting for him, and I know that because he is one of the nicest, if not the nicest person in racing.
The gentleman, Dustin said his heart's getting warm because we would, for years when we did the Kentucky Derby program here on Mad Dog Sports Radio, a little behind the curtain, what we would have to do is we would have to pre-record the interviews with the trainers because they're so busy. People don't realize, and Aaron can point this out, horse trainers probably work more hours than anybody on the planet, and the craziest hours. They're up when it's dark. They finish work when it's dark. So we would have to interview like the Bill Motts and the Todd Pletchers and the Bob Bafferts, like at odd times. Mott was like the big, like the nice, like such a gentleman, like, oh, thank you for having me. We're like, okay, Bill Mott, you're a Hall of Famer.
There's like an innocence about him where he doesn't understand what he's accomplished. It's like he's never looked at his own Wikipedia page to know like how next level he is. I just think he's and honestly, everyone in that whole world that we've dealt with has been really, really good to us, except for I think like one or two who don't reply to any texts. Steve Asmussen.
Oh,
that's surprising.
Taking shots at Aaron's guy.
Actually, let me confirm that's true. I might have made that one up. He was just the name in front of me.
That's really surprising if he didn't, because he actually is super nice. So I don't know what the deal might have been there. Maybe he knew you maybe and didn't want to reply to you, Dustin. I don't know.
Doesn't want to associate. That's fair. I understand that. No, it was Brad Cox. It was Brad Cox, not Steve Asmussen.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
Yeah,
he's a jerk.
That's who it was.
Yeah. Okay. I feel much better. If it was Steve Asmussen, I was going to be very upset. Like, I was like, oh, no, because he's a good guy. Brad Cox, yeah, he's a jerk. I like that. Okay.
and what I love about horse racing, and we'll get off it and get back into the other sports, but what I love about horse racing is, like, you still have the coach out there in his 80s, and Dog always has Zito on every year, who's won a million big races. Like, there are guys that you can follow, like Baffert. My mom tunes in with the silver hair. It feels like he's been around forever. Like, it's just part of the journey. Like, Bill, why can't I think of the coach's name right now?
Dwayne Lucas. That's who you're talking about.
Dwayne Lucas is literally in his 80s, and you can explain he had live horses last year.
Yeah, he does again this year. And get this. So I was at his barn. We went down to Oaklawn Park. I was at his barn Sunday morning hanging out a little bit. I'm lucky enough to know his assistant trainer and a couple people connected, so we get to go back there. Dwayne Lucas is 91 now, Patrick.
Oh, excuse me. 91.
91.
Wow.
So, guys, he's back there. He's got a walker, and he's walking that shed row, checking all those horses every morning. I can confirm that happens. So, yeah, listen, he is a legend among all legends. I mean, to me, he is the GOAT in the game, the greatest of all time. He's the Tom Brady of horse racing, in my opinion. And listen, last year he won the Preakness with Seize the Gray. And this year he's got a couple of horses. He's got American Promise, who will be in the Kentucky Derby. He's got a horse named Caldera, who I kind of heard they're pretty high on him. They still think he's going to be okay after his poor performance in Louisiana Derby. So, yeah, don't forget about Lucas. He's going to be a player in these Triple Crown races, all three of them. He's not afraid to run them. So, yeah, he's an unbelievable story.
And, some of the greats you mentioned, maybe a little trivia that people don't know. Robert Frankel, who was one of the great trainers of all time. Maybe your wife would know this, but Bethany Frankel, that's his daughter. Yep. So when you're watching all the reality TV, one of the great trainers, and Robert Frankel was like literally top 3, right, Aaron, up there as far as one of the great trainers of all time?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he was a legend. And actually, Chad Brown, who is one of the biggest trainers in the country right now, he learned pretty much everything he knew from Frankel. So, Frankel died kind of young, and he just kind of passed it on to Chad Brown. And Chad Brown is kind of the same guy, basically. Everything he learned it from Bobby Frankel. Yeah. So, another absolute legend, with Frankel. And so good that they named one of the best horses to ever live over in Europe. They named him after Bobby Frankel.
Yep. I would say Whittingham, Frankel, Lucas, Baffert, like that. Pletcher, you're starting to get into rarefied air.
Okay, well,
Pletcher's still young.
You're mentioning a lot of older guys. Like if there was a young and up and coming trainer to buy stock in now, who's your guy?
Well, it's actually a female. I would go. So there's a trainer named Cherie DeVoe right now, and I don't know her age, but she is a younger, newer trainer. Cherie DeVoe is somebody I would look for and just continue to look for as she builds her stable. And we talked about how Frankel kind of led to Chad Brown. Well, Cherie DeVoe was an assistant under Chad Brown for a long time, so she kind of learned the ropes there. So that's kind of the younger trainer right now that I really like to follow it. And I think when you kind of know the backstory, it's like, okay, Cherie DeVoe, she learned a lot from a guy who is a master like Chad Brown. Well, the public doesn't quite know Cherie DeVoe yet. So you get a little bit better prices on their horses. So it is something to always keep an eye on. But yeah, she's the one. She's going to have some horses running this weekend at Keeneland. If you kind of open up the program, you see her name, they're going to be live. Her horses, when they enter, they're usually ready to run. So she's the one that I would kind of recommend everybody start to follow before she gets, overly popular.
And by the way, the gentleman that didn't write you back is also one of the young guns that's going to be great. And he already is great, and that's Brad Cox. So,
well, he is his last name, apparently.
Yes, correct. Correct.
All right, let's get off the horse again. At the track, road to the Kentucky Derby, Friday, Halterman, Samich, 11:15 West, 2:15 East, at VSiN Live on YouTube. I promise you. And by the way, you can get involved in the chat, and they answer the chat right there on the program. I mentioned off the top, you're a big hockey guy, and your Blues are on a freaking heater. We can talk about them in a second. But the Caps won again last night, and Ovechkin got a goal. For those that don't know, he's just 4 away from passing Wayne Gretzky. And Wayne Gretzky, in all of sports, has records that will never even come close to being touched. And Ovechkin's about to pass him. He may do it this year. He's obviously going to play next year, and he will pass the great one eventually. But the Caps themselves, like, this was a team nothing was expected of, Aaron, coming into the year, kind of a weird mixture of vets and young guys and unknowns. They got great goaltending this year and a huge year from Ovechkin. Are you a buyer in the East of the Caps, and if not, whom?
Yeah, I'm cautiously thinking they can win a round or two. I'm not a buyer in them going to the Stanley Cup. I just feel like, yes, it's a great story, but I feel like they are a team that has overachieved all season long. And as well as I do, when you get in those 7-game series, sometimes those teams that overachieve, they kind of get exposed when they play a team, that might just be a little bit better than them. Like, for example, tonight. Now, you can't take what's happening tonight and project it into the playoffs because, like you said, the Capitals are on a back-to-back. But if the Capitals match up with the Hurricanes, I'm going to have a hard time not taking the Hurricanes in that matchup. Now, the first round, they're not going to have to play them, and I think they'll get a team that they can beat. So I buy them winning a series, maybe two. I don't think they can get all the way to the Stanley Cup because kind of what you mentioned, this is a team that you kind of thought, yeah, if they can make kind of that last playoff spot, that makes sense. I think they can do it. But, not only has the team kind of overachieved, but Ovechkin in the weirdest way has overachieved big time because he's way up numbers-wise compared to what he had been the last couple of years. So that's been a big help as well. And he also got injured, and he's still way up numbers-wise. So, look, I like them. I'm rooting for them, but I don't buy them. I kind of lean more towards Carolina or Florida if they get Matthew Tkachuk back as kind of the team to still beat there in the East. Those are the teams I'm looking at. But if the Capitals win, that wouldn't bother me one bit.
Now, Patrick said he is over 5.5 in the game. Hurricanes up. They just started the second period, 3-0. The in-game total is only 6.5. I'm getting itchy. Benadryl's not going to fix it. Will the over fix it in this game for me, Aaron?
I think 5.5 is a good number. 6.5, I'm not quite sure. Here's why. Sometimes when you're on a back-to-back, like the Capitals are, you get down like that, you kind of may just ride the rest of the game out. And you may get in a situation where you're really relying on Carolina to kind of carry you to that number. So I think Patrick's in a good spot. You got to think, hey, if the Capitals get one, the net's going to get pulled. And at worst case scenario, we might get a goal that way, something like that. I don't know, though. I could see this kind of becoming a little bit of a slog and not really, this kind of ride out this game, rest our guys, get them ready for the next one type of thing. But I think it's the over and it cashing is all going to depend on if the Capitals can kind of fight back in this period. That's going to be the big key. And as we watch, can Ovechkin kind of get, quote unquote, a trash goal in the third period? Say it's 4-0 and he's out there, grinding to get a goal. That's going to help, the over players as well. But I'm a little scared that this thing might kind of turn into a little bit of a slower game.
Yeah, I would chill on that one because I was on the Caps yesterday and they had to grind against Boston late into the third period to beat them. So they probably got some tired legs. Lay off that one. We do have one play tonight on the ice, and it's it's your Canucks. You are the one that is bought into Vancouver, and you're going to lay a goal and a half tonight against the Kraken.
I mean, it's now or never for the Canucks, and hopefully it's never because I am a diehard St. Louis Blues fan, and I do not want Vancouver to win this game. But when you look at it, guys, they're at home. They're coming off a long road trip. They've got to be happy to be back home. That was a tough trip they were on. They absolutely need points. I mean, they just do. They're not out of it. If they get hot, they could catch either the Blues or the Wild. Laying that goal in half, you're getting plus 170. That's just too juicy of a number for me. As like you said, they play a Seattle team. They're out of it. And this Seattle team, pretty pathetic on the road this year as well. And the big thing for me, and when I see a game where I want to lay a goal and a half, Seattle has trouble scoring. And that's just the big thing. If the Canucks get out, they jump on them early. I think this thing's going to cash pretty easily. And look, I'm rooting against it for my fandom, but my wallet just kind of looks at this and says, look, this is a good spot to get a plus 170 price. The Canucks have everything to play for, and Seattle's just trying to ride out the rest of the season.
How about tomorrow? I don't know about you. I do like locking in bets the day before if what I like has been posted, and hopefully there's some movement that goes my way where I can get that CLV. You're going to look at the Senators, even money, hosting the Tampa Bay Lightning. That total is 5.5. Why are we taking the even money with Ottawa?
I just really love how this team plays, guys. They're a scrappy bunch. Brady Tkachuk is kind of the leader of that team, and they kind of have embodied what Brady Tkachuk is as a player, which is just a menace, right? But he also has a lot of talent as well. Very tough individual. You saw him in the Four Nations, and you saw how he kind of led Team USA in that same kind of category that he's doing with Ottawa. So I like them at home. They're playing Tampa. Tampa's a good team. They're going to be in the playoffs. They're going to be a tough out. But if you kind of break down Tampa, they're not nearly as good on the road. And Tampa's kind of in a decent spot right now where this isn't just a massive game for them, where Ottawa is still trying to battle not only to stay in the playoffs, but maybe get a little bit better seeding. So I kind of like the plus money with Ottawa. I kind of like them as underdogs at home. They're going to give you a battle. Even if they lose this game, they're going to come out and play their best because that's just who they've been since the Four Nations break. So I like the Senators as an underdog in that spot.
Let's move over to the Final Four coming up on Saturday. And listen, we've dealt with a rough tournament, but Saturday should be interesting and exciting. I believe. I've said it a million times. I can't see the difference between Florida and Auburn. The ceiling of Duke seems to be the highest of the four. So I'm worried about Houston, who I love, though we did have Mike Randall on yesterday, and he said he loves Houston in this game. Let's start with Florida and Auburn. Florida is laying 2.5. What do you have here, Aaron?
I took the Gators, and I just trust them a little bit more than I do Auburn. Would not be shocked if it goes either way. When I watch Florida in this tournament, it's like, guys, how many times have we looked up and said they're done? They're playing UConn. I'm like, nope, they're done. Texas Tech, they were ultra done is how I would put it. I thought this thing was over. They come back and win. Look, I think there's something to be said for a team that is battle tested. I think you can kind of look at those games and say they have not played that well, and they got through. One of these games, they're going to have a quote unquote Florida-like game where they just can't miss shots and they just go on runs. I think it could be here. I think the pressure's kind of off them now getting to the Final Four. So I lean Florida. Look, Auburn is fantastic. For whatever reason, I just kind of trust Florida a little bit more than them. So I'm going to take the Gators.
All right, on the other side, you're going to go with the other young coach. You're going to back Shire. Duke's laying 5.5, taking on Houston. Why are we going Blue Devils here, Aaron?
Well, look, I'll say this. Kelvin Sampson is my all-time favorite college basketball coach. For you guys out there listening that don't know, he coached at Oklahoma, and he got us to Final Fours and was a great coach. But anyway, I love Houston. I love Kelvin Sampson. I think Duke's got the better talent, and that's where it comes down to me. You know, Houston is such a scrappy team, but when you're playing a team as talented as Duke, I'm just afraid the way Duke can score, I don't know that Houston can keep up. I think the big key to the game, and this is no, surprise or secret, the pace of the game. If Houston can slow it down and make it a grind and make it a slog, they can win. But it's really tough to do that when you're playing elite players. I think it's Duke, guys. I hate to say it because I am rooting for Houston, but again, I think Duke is the team to beat in this one, and I think they're going to cover.
Okay, Florida and Duke in the Final Four for Aaron Halterman. All right, we're going to say goodbye, and you have VSiN at the Races, the Road to the Kentucky Derby coming up at VSiN Live on Friday. Just a selfish question. How short do you think journalism goes off on Saturday?
Well, he's got the other two Bafferts in the race, and so that's good. They'll take money. I still think he's 3 to 5 is what I would think journalism's going to be. Yeah.
Short. Very short. And he could end up being a monster, the McCarthy train Colt. Okay, Aaron Halterman, great to see you. Recovered from Oakland. Nice to see that as well. And let's go Canucks tonight. Huh?
Let's do it.
All right. I'm going no overtime on that one, minus $1.05.
Can't do it. He can't do it. He can't lay the puck in a half.
Can't lay a goal and a half. It's one of those things that just gets in my way. Aaron Halterman, thank you very much. RacingDudes.com and VSiN at the track.
All right, thanks, guys.
When we return, thank you, Aaron. When we return, we're going to talk to our buddy Noobs Christensen on some basketball, NBA-wise. We were actually just talking about the NBA a little bit earlier because of what Steph and Jokic did last night. It's wild because when we went off, we were talking about Steph having an all-timer, and he sat the final 2 minutes of the third. I was following this intently, and then he sat the first 3 minutes of the fourth. He did come in and scored, but again, there was 12 threes through 3 quarters. He didn't add one in the fourth. 16 was the record. I thought he was chasing it that game. I thought it was one of those where he was like 12 of 15 from 3. I thought he was going to chase the 3-point record held by his former teammate Klay Thompson.
And maybe too much respect. Too much respect to do it in that spot. Honestly, outside of Steph, my big takeaway from that game is, in the postseason, do not let Buddy Hield have a green light. Buddy Hield needs to get double approval. Like, you have to log in with VPN access to your computer at work for people. He needs to get double approval before he's allowed to shoot. That guy, when Steph was off the floor, was taking the ugliest shots I've ever seen. And real quickly, we're going to ride Dodgers team total. That's coming up in about 15 minutes. Dodgers over 4.5. We're doing that as a family.
Oh, yeah, bro. Elder? You're telling me he stinks?
Elder stinks.
So...
Elder stinks. Elder stinks.
I can't go on and on about the greatness in the 7-0 Dodgers and not bet the team total later in the program.
So I'm looking at the numbers. Elder, it's his first start of this year. He faced the Dodgers last May and allowed 7 earned runs in 3 1/3 innings. Ohtani went 2 of 3. So we're going to go also Ohtani over 1.5 total bases, minus 125.
All right, there it is from Aaron Halterman here, VSiN Live. We're going to transition and talk to our buddy Noobs Christensen. Don't forget, we've got professional handicapper Scott Spreitzer at the top of the hour as well. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
with.
Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Dustin, if you have a serious read there, go ahead and grab it. I want to let everybody know you can grab the newsletter for free and set you up for your sports day, your sports betting day. Brent Musburger's been in the mix in the newsletter, and it's absolutely free. Go to vsin.com/newsletter. You enter your email address, and you're good to go. What's coming up on SiriusXM?
All right, it's fantasy baseball season on Fantasy Sports Radio. They're helping you build a lineup, guiding your team through the early season injuries and underperforming stars. Going to let you know which hitters you need to have in your lineup, who the top pitchers are with the best matchups. Win your league with Fantasy Sports Radio, channel 87 in your car and on the SiriusXM app.
Time to talk some association with our good friend. He always cheers you up, and that is Noopaloop Christensen, of course, FTN Fantasy NBA analyst at _Noops. And Noops, hello. It's good to see you. We should start with last night before we get to tonight. A lot of big numbers on the board tonight. And last night was about greatness. It started with Steph, who ended up with 52, 10 boards, 8 assists, and 5 steals, 12 three-pointers made. I don't know if you were able to watch the game or follow along with the game because he didn't even do much in the fourth quarter. I mean, he had 32, 7, and 5 at halftime. Thoughts on the Steph greatness last night against the Grizz?
He's just cementing his case as one of the 10 best players of all time. He's got the titles, the performances. I mean, that three-pointers made record. I know the game has changed, and maybe we'll have someone who comes in and plays a really long career and finally chases that down. But there are just so many things. I mean, someone at this point in his career to score 50-plus points, it's just so exciting. And one of the reasons that, anyone who's been watching the NBA for the last 10, 15 years should feel so lucky that we've gotten to watch Steph Curry and LeBron James. These guys just continue to redefine what greatness late in your career could look like. So just excited. And I continue to feel lucky that I got to live during Steph Curry's entire basketball career.
And then on the other side, Jokic last night, third ever 60-point triple-double. I mean, it's insane. He's becoming an immortal in front of our eyeballs. Like, that's the thing I take away. He keeps getting better and better. There still isn't a good game plan for him. What do you make of the MVP market? I mean, personal opinion, who's your MVP? Is there a bet to be placed on Jokic, or is this thing completely over? Right now, SGA's minus 2,000, Jokic 9-1.
Yeah, if I had to pick the MVP, I think that either Shea or Jokic is a perfectly wonderful pick. I mean, Jokic, again, like I talked about Curry, Jokic continues to cement his legacy as arguably one of the greatest offensive players of all time. What he's able to do on the floor from an efficiency perspective to be not only one of the best passers, but now also one of the best three-point shooters and scorers and rebounders. And it's just overwhelming the amount of work that he has to put in every single night. He's a perfectly fine choice. But I think the MVP this season really is going to be Shai Gilgeous-Alexander of the Oklahoma City Thunder. Again, if you want to pick Jokic, that's perfectly fine. I'm not going to argue against it. But what Shai has done, I think, really is going to be one of the more underrated so far seasons we've ever seen a guard have. From an efficiency perspective, from scoring, everything he's done is just absolutely incredible for this team. The consistency with which he scores 30-plus points, the heights he's reached here without Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. The Thunder, I think, would be better than the Nuggets would be without Jokic if you're doing that comparison. But Shai is really the magic. Shai is the absolute best player on the best team in the NBA. He deserves MVP as much as anybody.
We're talking the NBA with Alex Noops Christensen, FTNFantasy.com NBA analyst. So last night, the game that Dustin mentioned with Jokic going off, so did Anthony Edwards. And the Timberwolves beat the Nuggets 140-39. I want to ask you about the T-Wolves. Last year, everybody's darling. This year, it's kind of gone the other way, though, playing well at the right time, Noops, as they're 7-3 over their last 10. Are you a buyer on the 7 seed Minnesota right now in the West?
Absolutely. I can't see really how anyone would not be. This team is peaking at the right time of the year. They've struggled with injuries, they've struggled with fit, but it seems like everything's sort of coming together. And if you're Denver, as good as you feel about Jokic, you have to be terrified. That's the fourth time this season the Timberwolves have beaten the Nuggets. They've only played four times. That's after coming off that playoff series last year where the Timberwolves really again, I know it got to 7 games, but if you're Denver, you had to be thinking about the Timberwolves coming into this year, and losing all 4 games outright has to really be scary. The only problem with Minnesota is, their position could be really tough. It looks like they're going to be the 7 seed, might be able to sneak up to 6. If they do sneak up to 6, again, nightmare matchup for the Denver Nuggets, who are struggling to get to the end of the season healthy. Then they're looking at probably the winner of the Houston Rockets, maybe the Clippers there. It's a really nice spot for Minnesota. And I'm not sure if I'm buying futures on them, kind of given the fact that I'm just not sure anybody could beat Oklahoma City, but I'm going to be looking to play them once the playoffs get here in just about every series in every way I can.
Yeah, from a matchup perspective, right? Because the West is likely going through OKC. Just from a pure matchup, what they can throw out there in terms of their starting five, the key bench guys with the rotation shortening up. Who is that tough matchup for Oklahoma City in the postseason?
I think Minnesota is a good place to start. Again, they've got someone in Anthony Edwards who can outplay Shea Gilgeous-Alexander night to night. They've got some veterans. They can play a little bit big, which is something Oklahoma City has struggled with. But the other answer, and this makes me sick as a Philadelphia 76ers fan, as someone that's hated the Lakers for most of his life, LeBron James and Luka Doncic. That is a terrifying combination for a Thunder team that is still young. And although they took their lumps last year, it's going to be scary for them as a defensive team that has defined themselves by their ability to stop other opponents to have to deal with two of the best playmakers of all time. Of all time. Again, I will say that, not just of this generation of the last 10 years. If any two people can figure out this Oklahoma City defense, it's LeBron James and Luka Doncic. That said, Oklahoma City's minus 140, minus 150 to win the West. And honestly, I couldn't tell you not to bet that. I still think it's the Thunder.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is the Lakers. Nobody wants to see this team come postseason time. And I'll give you an example. I was watching the other night when they played Houston. Houston Noops, as you know, is the 2 seed in the West, full of a bunch of young scorers, a bunch of really good players. And frankly, the other night, they all played well against the Lakers. And because of Luka controlling the game, Luka didn't even have a good shooting night and just kind of controlled the game. LeBron's able to take a step back. They have Reeves as the third option. What is the ceiling for the Lakers?
I think the ceiling for the Lakers is an appearance in the Eastern Conference Finals. So what I struggle with is in tight games at the end, Luka and LeBron are going to be incredible. But once we get to the playoffs, we're going to see a lot of different things. For starters, I think we'll see teams like Oklahoma City, maybe like Houston, even maybe Golden State will try to find a way to do this. Just guard Luka Doncic the entire game. Basically, press him as soon as he has the ball, get somebody on him, get him really tired, and grind them out. Again, as I've said, as much as the Lakers have upside with those two guys, it's a fundamentally flawed team. They don't have depth. They don't really have a lot of big guys. And if either one of them being, of course, Luka and LeBron, get fatigued or get injured, this thing falls apart pretty quickly. So I could see them winning 2 playoff series, but again, it's a team where the upside is really scary, but when you start to think of the floor, the average scenario, there's a lot of problems for them.
How about in the East? Level of concern for you when it comes to the Cleveland Cavaliers, who don't feel like they're playing their best, but maybe don't want to be, getting ready for the postseason, 5-5 over their last 10, still the second shot to win the East at plus 210. Boston's your favorite, minus 130. Where do you stand with Cleveland right now?
I have a lot of Cleveland to win the East in my pocket, and I still feel pretty good about that. It's some nice numbers. I think the Cavaliers, like a lot of good teams at the end of the season, have struggled with some bad schedule spots. They lost a bunch of games, but they had to go on the West Coast for about a week and a half when they're at a part of the season where they haven't locked up the number 1 seed yet, but it's pretty virtually much theirs at this point. And they're resting a lot of guys. They're just trying to get through healthy. So I would like to see them play another couple good games. For example, tonight, I thought we'd really see them put up a good effort against the New York Knicks. Now, they struggled in the first half. I'm looking right now. They're up 23-10 for the third quarter alone. They've finally taken control of that game. I just want to see one or two more big games for them. And then I continue to feel confident. I think the Celtics are going to be your favorites in the Eastern Conference Finals, even though Cleveland has home court. But you're looking at Boston probably somewhere in the minus 125, maybe as deep as minus 150 range. It's going to be a close series. And I think the Cavaliers, with Donovan Mitchell, if they can be healthy, have as good a chance as anybody is upsetting the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, when betting the NBA, Alex Noops Christensen here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, of course, YouTube as well at VSiN Live. When betting the NBA, you're looking for spots. Let's talk about maybe the most impossible spot of all time for the Nuggets tonight. Double overtime last night against the T-Wolves. And here comes a team that doesn't even care about playing basketball right now in the Spurs, yet the Nuggets are just a 2.5-point favorite. Now, you're going to do something a little different here. You're going to go over 231.5. Let's get your thoughts on that game, Spurs Nuggets.
Yeah, and luckily for me, the totals dropped quite a bit since we've seen the injury report. We're looking at about 25.5 right now. It's a really interesting thing as you get towards the end of the season. In the Eastern Conference, you have the Toronto Raptors. In the Western Conference, you've got the Blazers and the Spurs. And what those three teams have in common is they have no chance of getting the 10 seed. Now, Portland and San Antonio have not technically been eliminated. They're not going to catch up for the 10 seed, but they can't really get any lower. Tanking doesn't really help them. So night to night, you're looking at these young teams that are guys trying to fight for playing time, fight for contracts, that know that this is really their chance to show NBA teams that they're pretty good. Now, Denver, it's tough. Just about everybody is out for the Denver Nuggets tonight. Murray is out. Jokic is out. I believe Aaron Gordon is out. I'm trying to pull up the injury report right now. But again, still a lot of guys for them that are going to be able to play. Russell Westbrook's going to do everything for them tonight. Actually, the entire starting lineup, by the way, out for the Nuggets. But we're going to see a lot of young guys pushing, and that generally is great for overs. The total sits at 225, even with all those injuries out. I have this total closer to 230. So I'm just going to count on a bunch of young guys to push the pace because pace defines totals. Efficiency comes and goes. Pace is what drives everything. I think we're going to see this game be a track meet. Give me the over.
What are we going to do with Pistons Thunder? Oklahoma City full game. They're laying 13. The total's 233.5. Detroit is dealing with some suspensions, right? And I believe last I looked, Cade Cunningham is doubtful for tonight. How are you attacking the Pistons on the road in Oklahoma City?
Yeah, no Cade Cunningham and a couple other guys missing from the suspensions from the really one of the more entertaining fights we've seen in the NBA in quite some time. I'm just going to look at the first quarter here. The Thunder have been really solid this year. Not just a great team in terms of winning games, but great against the spread. At home, though, it appears the market's given them a little too much credit in the first quarter of these games. They don't really start as well as you think. If you go back and look, they're a little less than 500 against the spread, whereas the Pistons, like a lot of JB Bickerstaff teams, come out and play really well, whether it be at home or away. In the first quarter, the Pistons have been fantastic, and I really like them tonight. Despite all the injuries, it's tough, but I think what you're going to see is those injuries will impact the game as it gets deeper in. So I'm not interested in the Pistons full game, but they're getting to 4.5 points here in the first 12 minutes. I think that's a really nice bet. Bickerstaff stretches out the starting lineup, so we're going to get 9-10 minutes of the Pistons' best players against a Thunder team that knows they've got 3 more quarters here to ply their edge. Give me the Pistons first quarter plus 4.5.
Alex Noops Christensen, FTNFantasy.com. Make sure you check him out there. Does a great job. New Orleans is at the Clippers tonight, Noops, and it's an ugly number. The Clipper laying 18, 219 on the total, so you're going away from the side in total, and you've got a prop in this one.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I talk about all the time at FTN and some of my other work. The spread is way too big for me to trust the favorite, but it's not nearly big enough for me to bet the underdog. It's just a scary, scary time of year. You've got one team that has to win the game versus a team that doesn't care. Does that mean the team that has to win is going to play better, or does that create more nerves? Does that put them in a position where it's tough and where the underdog who doesn't have to win is playing basically with house money? So it's a big number. I struggle to know what to do with that. Instead, I'm going to go to an angle that has been really good all season. The New Orleans Pelicans centers are not good, and they really hardly have very, very many of them. Yves Missi, you might remember, was close to favorite for Rookie of the Year for a little while. As good as he is blocking shots and protecting the rim, is not good in terms of clogging passing lanes. And Ivica Zubac, one of the more underrated passers in the league, part of the reason that he gets to be one of the few old school traditional centers, if you will, that plays every night, is he's a great passer. His assist total tonight sits at just 2.5. The Pelicans give up the most assists to center. To centers, we've seen Zubac in matchups like this get as many as 5, 8 assists here. So over 2.5, and I'm looking at that, it's less than -110 a lot of places. I like that quite a bit. When you've got these games where you can't figure out what's going to happen, try to go deeper down the deli menu and look for stuff that's a little simpler. Give me a Vika Zubac over 2.5 assists, and go ahead and sprinkle some 4+ and 5+ if you have that option too.
So we're about 10 days away from the season-ending Noops, and Patrick and I were talking about 7 of the 9 games today had spreads of 10 points or greater, which is just absolutely absurd. I'm curious, how does your process change? How does your approach change versus the regular season into the postseason with how you attack the board?
Yeah, when you're at the end of the regular season here, discretion is the better part of valor, guys. I'm not someone that believes in kind of do not bet lists, except for the last 10 to 15 games of the NBA season, where you're looking at teams like my Philadelphia 76ers actively doing everything they can to lose, other teams trying to win. You just have to cut stuff down. But the big change when it comes to the playoffs, guys, is I don't really look at my model as much. I'm someone that is very numbers driven when it comes to the regular season. But when you get to the playoffs, that's when teams have time to plan. That's when teams have days off to have practice and check out matchups and grind through plays and things like that. So if you're someone that has a really good eye for basketball and is watching these games thoroughly, the playoffs is for you. Your edge really is in those matchups and changes game to game, because the market, again, is driven largely by numbers, and that is overall a good thing to do long term. But game to game, really pay attention and look and try to figure out what the changes are going to be. If you can get ahead of that, you've got a real edge.
Noops, great job. And you mentioned the playoffs. Playoffs just around the corner, NBA-wise, and we'll be talking to Noops throughout. Alex Noops Christensen, FTNFantasy.com. You can check him out there at _Noops on Twitter. Noops, we'll talk to you next week. Thank you, buddy.
Pleasure as always, gentlemen. Best of luck until we talk again.
Our pleasure, as always, with Noops Christensen. We've got the Dodgers team total 4.5. What you like to see if you're betting a home team's team total, you like to see the road team get off to a good start. Now, the Braves have runners on first and second with 2 outs. We're hoping for a couple of runs here because, see you later, Noops. You want to have a team like the Dodgers. You want to have them pissed. And the only thing that's going to piss them off is Snell gets touched a little bit here. And you pick up a couple of runs early from the visitors.
It's a little carrot to dangle out in front of you. I don't know why no human's running for a carrot. I guess that's just for a horse or another animal, because you're not getting me to move very quick for a carrot. But however, it gives them something to chase. That's what we like to see. Also, with the Dodgers, the explosion could happen at any point in time. You just never know. They're capable of scoring a ton of runs. I had team total on them last Friday where it looked dead in the water. Game goes to extras. They end up dropping 8. They're just absurd.
I'm just checking here because the Caps just got a goal at the end of the second. Ooh. So it was 4-0 Carolina. The Caps just scored, and I'm waiting to see who they gave the goal to. It's a power play goal, so that means Ovechkin was going to be on the ice. No, it did not go to Ovechkin. Okay, just wanted to make sure, as he's 4 behind the great one for the all-time goal scorers list in the NHL. The theme, Ovechkin certainly fits it today on VSiN Live. Greatness. The Dodgers, 7-0. And, of course, you saw Steph and Jokic go off last night. We'll continue with your calls. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
4 minutes.
It is Ovi.
Dustin Swedelson. covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
So it was a one-timer from Ovi on the power play. So Ovechkin, goal number 892, 3 more to pass the great one. So he's going to do it, folks. And this is fascinating because, so they're at Carolina tonight. They were getting beat 4-0. And on the power play to end the second, Ovechkin was with the one-timer, scores his 892nd goal. Again, the great one is going to be in attendance the rest of the way to be there for Ovechkin when he passes his goal-scoring record. So he still has, let's see, tonight he still has a third period to go. And he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games left in the regular season. So Ovechkin's going to break the all-time goal-scoring record this year. That's without a doubt.
Yeah, at some point, if he doesn't score for a game or two, you have to imagine they're just going to be drawing things up for him over and over again to get him more and more shots on goal. But that goal right there for 892, it was a pretty one-timer. I mean, he smacked the hell out of it. Easy goal. On our way to history. I still don't know, though. You asked me in the break, is it 3 to tie it or 3 to pass? I still can't figure that math out.
It's got to be 3 to pass.
I think
so.
It's 3 to pass.
3 more. So Gretzky will leave. I don't know if he's not going to be in Carolina tonight. I don't think. Maybe he is, but he's definitely going to be in Chicago on Friday. And Chicago stinks. Maybe Ovechkin gets a couple of there. Sunday could be interesting at the Islanders, because Gretzky, now we should start the Gretzky watch, because this is going to be about his travel. He's going to head to Chicago, and then he's going to head to the Long Island, and then potentially back to Carolina. That's their next game, Thursday, April 10th. And then maybe Columbus for a couple Saturday and Sunday, at the Islanders for Ovechkin, and then he closes out at Pittsburgh. So Wayne Gretzky on tour with the Ovechkin watch as 892 tonight on the one-timer on the power play in the second at Carolina.
Racking up those sky miles for Wayne Gretzky. It is 3 for the record. The record by Gretzky's 894. Ovi's at 892. So 2 would tie. 3 gives him the record for most goals.
It's a good job out of the great one being there.
Not being petty and bitter and weird.
Wayne Gretzky will be part of every traveling caravan that will attend every Washington Capital game until Ovechkin breaks the record. He's going to be joined by Bettman, the commissioner. And so it started tonight. So Gretzky was there tonight in Carolina. And Gretzky is going to be, and so is Ovechkin's wife, Nastya, who is Russian.
I just got to look at her. She's a 5-star.
You're saying you find her attractive?
She's very attractive. I feel like those Russian guys only find attractive women.
You're shocked that a little
I'm not
shocking that
shocked.
one of the greatest hockey players of all time is married to a beautiful Russian lady, and he is from Russia.
There was no shock. I was just pointing out that there's a consistency that I like. Although Jaromir Jagr, I don't know. I think that guy's still hooking up with college girls at this point. But there does seem to be a consistent theme that these Russian hockey players end up having gorgeous wives. That's all.
Yep, factual. So Ovechkin, he's 39. He, of course, was the number 1 overall pick in the 2004 draft. He was great out the jump. Remember, the Caps gave him a 10-year extension. Maybe a few years, maybe 7 years in or something like that. He got like a 10-year extension. And we were talking about it yesterday. I asked, is he the greatest, and I don't even think there's a question, the greatest athlete ever from the DMV, ever from one of the Washington majors? And really all I could come up with is like Wes Unseld.
No, it's kind of a crazy question when you think about like the Commanders' history, right? The Super Bowl runs there. But that was more about Joe Gibbs. He's not a player. Like if Joe Gibbs was the guy that you think about when you think about that era. Baseball, I mean, I know they won the World Series, but they watched Harper leave. It's not Strasburg. He was hurt all the time. Ryan Zimmerman's Mr. National. That's not the answer. The only logical move here, because the Wizards have stunk basically my entire existence on the planet. The only answer is Ovi. You're right. It's kind of crazy. A bigger deal should be made out of that.
Yeah, he is going to go down as the greatest athlete ever in Washington sports history. One of the great hockey players of all time. That goes without saying. So, yeah, I'm trying to think right now.
Sonny Jurgensen, does that do it for you?
Sonny Jurgensen. Like, if you think, yeah, because Gibbs, the 3 championships, Theismann, Doug Williams, and Mark Rippon.
Yeah.
So you immediately go to quarterback. That's not it. Sonny Jurgensen, okay.
Darryl Green, a corner.
John Riggins, not Ovechkin.
Yeah. Sammy
Darryl
Ball.
Green, one of the great corners of all time, not Ovechkin. Kirk Cousins, not Ovechkin.
You know what, though? He's unfortunately in the conversation.
Clinton Portis, not Ovechkin.
John Wall.
Not Ovechkin. So it's not even close. You like to have that. It's fun in certain cities, like the greatest athlete of all time to come out of Detroit. It's got to be Joe Louis, but there's so many in the mix. Boston, Chicago, New York, Washington, D.C., without a doubt, it's a Russian dude, which has a lot of irony there.
Even more irony, nation's capital, who would be the other 3 on the D.C. Mount Rushmore? Ovechkin, and then who are the other 3?
We can open that up. Ovechkin, and then 3 other greatest. Unseld has to be on it.
Yeah.
We'll ask our next guest, Scott Spreitzer, professional handicapper, coming up next. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Sweat your bets with VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, Ovechkin is 3 away from passing the great one for all-time goal scorer in National Hockey League history. But what's a fun game to play is when somebody asks you who is the most dominant player in the history of their sport, the answer starts with Wayne Gretzky, and then everybody else is like miles away. Here's how you know. If you just Google Wayne Gretzky records, there's a Wikipedia that is solely for a list of career achievements for Wayne Gretzky. And let me give you an idea. He is credited by the NHL record book holding or sharing 61 NHL records, 40 in the regular season, 15 in the playoffs, and 6 all-star records. And just starting with regular season, Wayne Gretzky owns 40 regular season records, including most goals in a season, 92. Is that good? I mean, most assists. He has almost 2,000 assists, and of course, most goals, 894, which is about to be passed by Ovechkin. But again, there is just the great one. There's a reason he's the great one, and because of those 40 regular season, 33 of them aren't even going to come close to being sniffed. It's incredible what Gretzky did in his career.
So I'm looking at the career stats, and obviously I remember watching Gretzky play. That was my wheelhouse of hockey. But this blows me away. I know he was a great assist guy, and the numbers are off the charts. His last year at 38 years old with the Rangers, just played 70 games. He only had 9 goals. He had 53 assists, and that was one of his worst years of dishing out assists in his entire career.
Yeah, he's incredible. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher, as we bring in Scott Spreitzer, who's a big hockey guy here on VSiN Live, a professional handicapper, Doc Sports, docsports.com, at Scott Wins with 2 T's on Twitter. So let's talk about this for a little bit. Ovechkin is about to pass Gretzky, which is crazy to think about because, as you know, you watch Gretzky's whole entire career. It starts with him as the most dominant in any sport, and everybody else is just in second place, Scott.
Yeah. I mean, what Ovechkin's doing is unbelievable. But again, you just mentioned all the records that Wayne Gretzky owns. It's almost like, he had cheat code, obviously. And you're sitting there and you're looking at the guy, and every stat that he has is just, it's literally unbelievable if you weren't around back then and you're familiar with hockey now. I can remember this guy was so good. Now, I've lived in Las Vegas since a month out of high school. I came out to Vegas. My first radio job, I worked at a station out here with Angelo Zig Fracassi, which a lot of people are familiar with. And he was full-time. I was this part-time long-haired goofball. And we became instant friends. He needed to, I guess, have friends in lower places. So we became friends. And but anyway, we had a program director who was from LA, who was now directing the programs in Vegas. And the day that Gretzky was traded to LA from Edmonton, I swear to God, Zig Fracassi was in multiple depression for a week. Our program director was in a multiple state of depression for a week. We were like, keep sharp objects away from Angelo Zig Fracassi, who's from Buffalo, New York, but was so dang depressed. And that's all we talked about for the next month was Wayne Gretzky being traded to Southern California from the Edmonton Oilers. And I mean, to me, that it just blows me away because we're talking like 1988-ish. I forget the exact year. And hockey wasn't really big yet down here. It was a local radio station. We had no hockey teams other than maybe an adult league or two. And we're sitting there just depressed and talking about pucks and Wayne Gretzky for the next month, every minute we were on air. So what he's done is, to me, like I said, it's literally unbelievable if you weren't around when it was happening. If you were born since he's been retired, you're looking at that going, that's got to be a typo. Every other sentence when it comes to describing Gretzky.
Well, it's crazy.
Let me give you just, Dustin, before you jump in, let me just give you a few of Gretzky's records just to make you guys laugh. So just understand this for context. Over the last 3 seasons, only 6 players have scored 50 goals in an entire season. Gretzky's favorite record of his own, he scored 50 goals in 39 games. Let me repeat. Over the past 3 years, and this is the most talented group of players in the history of the sport right now, and over the last 3 seasons, only 6 players have scored 50 in 82 games. Wayne Gretzky scored 50 goals in 39 games. Let me just give you 2 more. He had the DiMaggio streak. He had a 51-game point scoring streak on ice. 51 straight games of scoring a point, and I'll just give you one more. He had 3 consecutive 200-point seasons. The odds of a player in the NHL recording 200 points in any season are slim to none. Gretzky scored 200 points 3 consecutive seasons. It's mind blowing. You're laughing while I say because it is. It's laughable.
Look at Jack Eichel. Look at Jack Eichel with Vegas. All right, this guy's an amazing player, one of the top players in the league. What's he going to average? A point a game when the season's over? 82, 85 points in that neighborhood. 90 points, I think, maybe. And you're talking about a guy who multiple season had 200 points. It is mind-boggling. It's so cool. It's laughable. You have to laugh.
But is it crazy to say that he potentially could have scored more goals? But the thing that made Gretzky great was like he lifted everyone else up. He made everyone else around him better. I mean, the goal numbers could have been absurd, but he just chose to make the right hockey play and make everyone around him better. That to me is the true sign of like the greatest of all time.
Well, let me compare this to the people who might not be hockey fans or came along after Gretzky when he was at his best. Think of Magic Johnson. Think of what he could have done if he wasn't busy dishing the ball. Now, his stats might not compare to Gretzky, but you know what I mean. He could have been a 30-point per game scorer if he didn't dish out 15 assists per game. You know, it's kind of along those lines in that Gretzky made sure others were involved on the offensive end. And, you know, a lot of guys benefited from his passing, which was, again, second to nobody with his passing.
No, it's crazy. Let me just give you guys one more. Wayne Gretzky has the most career points. He has 2,857 points. Okay, that doesn't make sense to you context-wise. Gretzky, he's the only player to have more than 2,000 points. He has 2,857. He has 970 more points than the runner-up, who is Mark Messier, and Messier played in 269 more games. 269 more games is there's 82-game season. By the way, let's put Gretzky's career points of 2,857 in perspective. Now, this is where it gets fun. A player would need to average 143 points per year for 20 years to break his mark.
Jesus.
you guys
like, how did he do it?
You guys
how did he do it?
You guys watch way more hockey to me. And I keep hearing people try to like label these next guys as the next greatest of all time. But it's not possible, right?
No.
Like, there's no way any of these guys can accomplish this.
No.
Shohei's going to have to hit 55 to 60 home runs a year for 15 years. Then you can compare him. You know what I mean? It's like, it's that crazy.
It's literally not. That's why, you know, with the Sidney Crosbys and the Connor McDavids, those two are competing against like the Mario Lemieux. Sure. And, you know, like that. It's just, there's another, and, you know, you don't want to disrespect a Gordie Howe or, you know, even like a Bobby Hull, but I'm sorry. It's just a whole nother level. Anyway, I say all that because one of those records is about to go down because Ovechkin has, I think 9 games left and he's 3 back. Now, Gretzky is going to be in it. That's pretty cool, right? Scott Gretzky's going to be traveling to every, Caps game to be on hand when Ovechkin breaks his record. We were talking about right before you came on. It's kind of ironic, but the greatest sports figure in the history of Washington, D.C. sports is a Russian named Alex Ovechkin. You can't think of another one, right?
A Russian in D.C. I like it. That's one of the greatest. But who did you come up with top D.C.?
I mean, if you're putting together a Mount Rushmore, Wes Unseld has to be on the list.
Sure.
Just Wes Unseld. And then after that, I think it gets quite murky.
How about the Big E? Elvin Hayes.
Elvin Hayes is a good one. Very good one.
I got to see real quick. When I was a kid growing up in Omaha, we had the Kansas City Omaha Kings. They played, let's say, 10 games at home per NBA season in Omaha. And it was owned by some business company in both cities. But I used to go down to the Civic Auditorium and watch OKC Omaha games with Tiny Archibald, Scotty Wedman, those guys, Sam Lacey. And I got to see Washington in town, and it was the Big E, and it was Wes Unseld. And by the way, this was back when Washington was like the only team that would have the first name of the player on the back. So it'd be like Wes, the Big E on the back of their jerseys. I've never seen somebody who's not like 7'5" be so, I guess, changing to a person shot altering, I guess is the best phrase, on the defensive end as the Big E was. Unbelievable. So I would probably put him in the mix as being one of the Mount Rushmore guys with the Washington, back then, the Washington Bullets.
Okay, so we've got three. We've got Ovi, we've got Unseld. I'm going to add a third. And we're going old school. Even Scott, you weren't around for this guy. Walter Johnson, arguably the greatest pitcher of all time, 1907 to 1927 for the Washington Senators. That is our three. The problem is the most important team in that town is the Washington Commanders, and we don't have a surefire number one best option from them.
Boy, the people of DC would not be upset with Riggins, the running back out of Kansas.
I think Riggins is the answer.
Yeah.
I honestly think you're right.
You look at like quarterbacks, nobody's really standing out. I mean, Sonny Jorgensen had a mean behind your back pass. Oh my gosh. That guy could throw the football 75 yards downfield on a dime behind his back. I'm not kidding. And, but as far as, I would say John Riggins would probably make a lot of people happy in that DC area, old Redskins and now Commanders fans.
The Redskin Commanders, is Dustin and I were talking about it. The greatest Redskin commander is Joe Gibbs. So it's not even a player.
Yep.
It's not even close. Like Gibbs is like far and away because if you think about the championships, it's Theismann's, it's Doug Williams, it's Mark Rippon. Theismann is a very good player. Rippon and Doug Williams, okay. Darryl Green, maybe the best Redskin of all
Art
time.
Monk.
Art Monk. Now that he belongs in that for a season or two. He's the one that got Howard Cosell in trouble. Well, Howard Cosell got himself in trouble, but it was, I think it was Art Monk on the play, but
I think it was.
But yeah, I mean, I would
trio.
If I was a DC guy, I would have no problem with Art Monk being on that list. I think Doug Williams didn't play at the highest level enough to make that list. He had that great season where he was, a great quarterback. They go to the Super Bowl and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think he was around long enough and put up the numbers to be included in the top, 5 athletes in DC. I guess the most formidable player I've ever seen in person, and I only saw John Riggins once. I never saw Sonny Jorgensen. I'm not that freaking old, but was Elvin Hayes. I really do like this guy. I mean, if you polled people in DC, I bet you he'd be on a lot of the lists.
No, it's great. It's actually what's fascinating as our nation's capital. There are not a lot of names, if we're being honest.
Well, wouldn't it be great to see when Cooper Flagg goes to the NBA? Please don't land in Charlotte. Please don't land in Sacramento. Go to a big city. Come on. I don't want to see him playing for the Hornets or the Pelicans I want to see him in New York or Philly or DC. Let's go somewhere where the guy is, that's what he needs. That's what the NBA needs. I mean, come on. Do you want to see, where did Kobe get drafted by? Wasn't it Charlotte?
Charlotte. Traded for Vlade Divac.
Huh?
He was traded for Vlade Divac.
That's right. Vlade. I mean, did you want to see Kobe in Charlotte? Come on. He belongs in a Laker uniform. And I'm not a Laker fan, and I'm saying that. But you've got to put Cooper Flagg in a big city.
You know what's fascinating about that? We're having a conversation of the most important athlete from Washington, D.C. You just mentioned it, and I live here. The most important athlete to the people that live in Los Angeles all time is Kobe Bryant. I think it might surprise people to hear that because there's so many great athletes that have come through. You can talk about Koufax. You can talk about Magic. The person that matters the most here is Kobe. So that was a good one.
I got a quick story if we got time about Kobe. Okay, so and again, it's like Uncle Scott's story time, like every other week on the show. But back in the day, we're talking about early to mid 90s. And when Kobe, by the way, was a rookie, my brother here in Las Vegas, he's worked at a few different casinos. He's retired now. One of his clients was Frank Mariani. And Frank Mariani is the silent partner of Jerry Buss back in the day with the Lakers. And if you watch that show on HBO, you'll see Frank Mariani's kind of the short, chubby guy who, gets the dinners put together at Piero's and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, he would invite us down. He'd come up here and he'd take us to boxing matches. We'd sit front row to see good prize fights. Still around. He's 90 something. He plays poker in Vegas sometimes. So we'd go down to LA because he'd invite us down, my brother and I. We'd eat at the Forum Club, sitting at the table with Jerry Buss, Frank Mariani. I'll pick up the names when I'm done dropping them all. And then we'd walk out. And I remember seeing Kobe play against the Utah Jazz. Kobe was a rookie. It was the playoffs. And I mean, Karl Malone had like 44 and 12 that night. They wrapped up the series with the Lakers, and we're all sitting there going, Kobe had like 9 points and 5 rebounds, hardly played. And we're all sitting there going, man, this guy, in the short time he was out there, like, this guy's going to be unbelievable. And it was kind of head scratching that he wasn't out there for most of the game because he had that effect as a young, first year player with the Lakers. But I mean, we knew right away, everybody knew right away that we were right behind the Laker bench. Everybody saw Kobe as being this phenom. And I'll never forget, he hardly played, which was good because I had Utah. And you don't know what it's like to sit in the Forum Club and then have the Jazz and sit behind the Lakers bench and have to keep your mouth shut the whole freaking game. And at the end of the game, Bill Walton's walking off the court, and I got to yell at Bill. And then, of course, my brother and I are high-fiving after the Forum emptied out.
God, Vegas was different, though. That was so different. You triggered something in my brain that when you brought up Zig freaking out about the Gretzky trade.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all sports fans here. Do you have a trade that you remember like being where you were when you found out and like stopping in your tracks, whether it's your team or another team, where you still remember to this day how you felt in that moment? Because I have 2 that jump out to me, but I'm curious, Scott, do you have any?
As far as a trade, I got to really think about that. As far as a coaching decision on who somebody hired, and that's what popped into my head when you were saying this. So I'll give you the first thing that popped in my mind. What the hell is Nebraska doing hiring Mike Riley? Okay.
I think Mike Riley was
fit of all time.
I'm driving to the studio. I used to host a 10 a.m. Pacific time local Las Vegas ESPN show. And I'm driving there, and Colin's wrapping up his stuff back when he was with that company doing the national show. And we had the good fortune of following Colin with that audience. And I'm driving to the studio, and I get a call from a guy who's been doing radio in town forever named Ken Thompson. You guys might know him. And he goes, "Did you just hear the Huskers hired Mike Riley?" I almost drove off the street. I'm like, it's done. It's over. It's been, 60 years of success right down the drain. So that was the first name, by the way. I know you were looking for a trade, but that's a first shocking move that came to my mind, Dustin, when you mentioned that.
Weirdest hire of all time. No connection to Nebraska, no juice, no nothing.
Also,
just
wasn't he like
Riley?
Wasn't he like Oregon State through and through? Like, didn't he play and coach there also? Like,
he did a good job at Oregon State. If you like 7-5 football, and
and then he went to the Chargers, I believe.
And now I think is he still in the UFL or whatever it's called now? Or
it made no sense.
Super nice guy.
You want to give your trades there?
So the 2 that stand out to me, I remember crying when the Islanders traded Pierre Turgeon to the Montreal Canadiens for Kirk Muller. The other one, I'll never forget where I was. The Mets always have hyped up prospects. Scott Kazmir may have been the most hyped pitching prospect they've ever had. And I'll never forget trade deadline. This must have been 2004. And we thought the deadline was over. Thought they just added Chris Benson. And at the last minute, we find out that the Mets traded Scott Kazmir to the Tampa Bay Rays for Victor Zambrano because pitching coach Rick Peterson said, quote, "I can fix Victor Zambrano in 10 minutes. And apparently they never had 10 minutes to spend together because Victor Zambrano stunk.
That's great.
There you go. All right, let's get to the Final Four. Scott Spreitzer joining. A trade that stands out is Luka to the Lakers. How about that?
Well, there you go. Yeah.
The Final Four. Before we get to the games, the matchups, the tournament itself, obviously a lot of favorites. Has it been a profitable one for you? How's it gone?
I'm very happy with this big dance. I had a losing conference tournament section, and that's usually my favorite to bet on every year is the conference tourneys, and usually do well. Not this time. The big dance has been the opposite of the conference tourneys. We've been able to listen, man. When you look at these teams, and sometimes you got to adjust. People will say, "Oh, it's all favorites." Well, you got to adjust to what's going on, and I've learned that from the hard way over all these years of doing this my entire adult life. But you look at these teams, the 4 teams that are in the Final Four all had the same net rating or higher than UConn did last year. It's an historic season, and it's really crazy that these teams have been able to, put together this net rating all at the same time, the same season, and do as well as they have. I mean, Duke, 39.62 net rating, guys. That's 3 points higher than the next best team, 3 points higher than UConn, the team that won it all last year. And how about a net rating of 10 points higher than the best team in 2023, according to Ken Palm numbers? It's just been historic. You got to adjust. There was somebody was putting out some numbers the other day on Twitter. I'm going to punch it up here because I don't want to. I always like to give guys their just due. Maybe I don't have it anyway. Just talking about the things that have happened this year with four. I know what it was. 4 of the top 6 net rating teams over the last 10 years are playing in this year's Final Four. It's Duke, it's Houston, number 1 and number 2. And of course, you got number 5 and 6 would be Florida and Auburn. And it was like UConn from last year, and I forget somebody, Gonzaga from 21. Those are the only other 2 teams in the mix. But you go 10 years back, 40 teams to choose from, or even 6 each year, 60. 4 of the top 6 are from this year's class. So if you would have talked to me in December, and I don't know if we did any shows in December, I would have said there's 10 teams that could win the championship. We started doing these shows, or I started jumping on with you guys on Wednesdays, probably in mid-January or something like that. And by February 1st, I was like, there's 4 teams, maybe 5. I was kind of including Tennessee a little bit in the mix. Maybe 5 teams that could win the championship. Nothing else. And I had a 40-1 on St. John's. And I knew going into mid-February, they weren't going to win the championship. Just kind of cool to have that ticket, But the bottom line is that, it's not surprising to me because the net rating on these 4 teams are just night and day better than anything we've seen as a group, at least in the last 10 years.
Yeah, it was Matt Norlander had the tweet with the Ken Palm team.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Four of the top 10. And it's been chalk. But it is interesting that it feels like the books never adjusted, the public never adjusted. Well, the public won because they just laid it, but the sharps didn't really adjust. Every sharp person I've talked to is like, yeah, it didn't go well Thursday, Friday when it opened, but eventually we kind of figured things out. When it comes to the Final Four, though, Scott, what are we going to do when it comes to Florida Auburn?
We're
Gators laying 2.5. What's that?
I said we're going to pass the Final Four.
No, we got to keep it going. Gators laying 2.5. That totals 159.5. I don't know why that feels a little heavy to me. What's the play there?
Well, we're thinking along the same lines because the first bet I made was under Florida Auburn. It was 160.5. Now, as you said, down to 159.5 in a lot of places. Oh, by the way, the guy that I got it from was Isaac Trotter on Twitter. And, he talked about how great these 4 teams are compared to the last 10 years. So Isaac Trotter deserves a little hats off there. I was a bit surprised that Michigan State couldn't do more against Janai Broome. I know they didn't have the size to match up, but they normally don't have to double a player, and they were getting kind of burned against Broome when he was healthy on the court. And he was able to take care of business. And you could argue that still Michigan State was pretty decent on defense. They held Auburn to 70. They combined for 134 points. The Gators slammed the door on Auburn in that win on the road earlier this season. Different time, we get it. But they held Broome to 8 of 19 shooting. Auburn made just 48% of their twos. Meanwhile, Florida, they had the bust out first half with 48 points. Things kind of calmed down after the first 20 minutes. But here we are with the 8th and 10th ranked teams in points allowed per 100 possessions. Auburn's played, 4 big dance games? They've held all 4 of those opponents to under 1 point per possession. Florida takes a lot of threes, and if you believe the sight lines are a pain in these big arenas, these domes, then you would think that might hurt them a little bit. I thought 160.5 was too high. I think 159.5 is too high. And I lean, by the way, I lean Florida. But Florida won't get the bet.
You do lean Florida in the game. Okay, 2.5 on Florida. The Broome question continues. The Alamo Dome down in San Antonio. Final Four coming up on Saturday. So the Duke-Houston matchup's fascinating because I think the 3 of us would agree the highest ceiling in this tournament is Duke, even though they're young, they're just big and they're just so talented. 3 lottery picks, we know it. But secretly, I think we're probably all pulling for Calvin Sampson and, of course, Houston. The number's up to 5.5. Scott, are you doing anything with this one?
It's getting a little scary at 5.5 if you like the Dukies and haven't jumped on board yet. And when I say anything negative about any of these 4 teams, trust me, I'm splitting hairs. There's not much negative to say. Houston doesn't get to the free throw line. That's been bothering me about this team all season. We see how much it's hurt them. They're in the Final Four, but they don't get to the free throw line, and their 2-point shot goes awry at times. And again, I'm splitting hairs, but Duke has no weaknesses really. And if they have a glaring weakness, somebody please tell me. Duke is a 39.62 net rating. Again, that's the best we've seen. was about 2 weeks ago when this whole thing started. I was doing a show in Phoenix, and I called this dance the Duke Invitational, and so far it has been. I used Ken Palm, but it doesn't matter which legit metric site you use, Bartovic, all those. Bottom line is we have two of the top defensive teams in college basketball. I think it helps Duke a little more because Duke finds open looks and makes shots. They're 8th and 6th in 3-point and 2-point shooting. And Houston can disappear on offense. They aren't great inside the arc. You can look up the numbers. They're not a very good shooting team at all. My concern for Duke, they haven't played a quality defensive squad since a game against Wake Forest a month ago, 9 games ago, and maybe Illinois in the mix on February 22nd. It's not like Duke has been taking on anything close to Houston and the way Houston plays on the defensive end of the floor. That's worrisome. And I think you get up to 5.5. We'll see if it gets to 6. That might be buyback time for me on the Houston Cougars here. The concern again is they just don't get to the free throw line. And I want to see a team at this point that's going to get there and have a better free throw to field goal attempt ratio than Houston. But again, as great as Duke is, and the numbers play out, the metrics play out, the bottom line is they're only 3 points better than Houston in that rating. And if all of a sudden the defensive play, the minimum boys look of Houston comes into play, Duke's not familiar with that this year playing in the ACC. And again, I'm looking for reasons here. It's not like Duke can't handle anybody, but I think that could bite them a little bit here. The schedule has not been all that difficult when it comes to playing legitimately strong defensive basketball teams.
I hope you're right. I bet Houston plus 650. I hope they have something for Duke that Duke's not ready for. So after all said and done, who's cutting down the nets on Monday night, Scott? Who wins the national championship?
After everything I've said, I should stick with Florida, which I've been touting for a month. But I'm gonna say Duke does, even if they don't get the cover, they're cutting down the nets on Monday night.
Yeah, they're favorites. I think rightful favorites in the market.
I'm being chalky all the way through, guys.
No. It's a good time to be chalky. There's 4 number ones in the Final Four, and so I don't really think you can be chalky. The tournament is chalky. By the way, you love baseball.
Yes.
And for those that don't know, I believe you're an Angels guy, but you do make a sojourn out to San Diego. It feels like once a year. A good start for your teams. The Angels start off 4-2, pardon me. And how about the Friars 7-0 to start here?
Yeah, there you go, Dodgers. Take that, right? I mean, the Friars are doing great. I think they're going to be a contender all season, maybe not for top spot in the West when the Dodgers eventually pull away by several games, but the Dodgers pitching can be a little shaky at times. And San Diego, they look pretty awesome. It doesn't matter whether we're talking pitching, fielding, or at the plate. The Angels had a chance to win number 5 in a row today. They took a lead and then they collapsed. The bullpen finally showed up to the bullpen we think they're going to be for most of the year. But yeah, man, I'm like, it's fun. I mean, the Angels are 4-2, and we might not be. I'm glad you brought it up because how many times this year are we going to be able to say the Halos have won 4 of 6?
Last time I'm gonna probably the last time I'm going to be talking about the Halos being above 500. Scott, no offense.
Hey, 4-2 last 6 games. I'm gonna loop that and I'm gonna put it out there, man.
You love to see it. By the way, we'll get an update because we went team total Dodgers. We went team total over 4.5. We love the fact that the Braves jumped out to a 5-0 lead. Love that. As right now it's 5-2 with the Braves ahead.
My only play today is the Dodger game over. So
you're middle 3, you got 7 runs. So you're
nice.
Okay. What did that close at? 7.5?
8. So a little bit of juice on the over.
Real quick, Scott, how crazy has it become, though? I remember years ago, it was just bet unders to start the year, and you can't do that anymore blindly with baseball. These teams come out, and we're getting crazy numbers very early in the season, especially when we have 2 teams playing in AAA ballparks.
Yeah, and not only that, but we talked about this when the rule was instituted that you have a man on second, a ghost runner, about you just can't play unders full game anymore. You just can't do it. At least I can't. All my unders are first 5 innings. And if I don't like the starting pitching matchup and what they can do against the opposing lineups, then I stay away from it. I haven't played a full game under, when we've had the ghost runner, probably since midway through the first season of the ghost runner. And I just gave up. We saw, what was it last night? The Angels and Cardinals, speaking of them, I think they scored 10 runs in the 10th and 11th inning combined. And it all starts with that guy on second. You got a bullpen by the 10th or 11th inning, or especially the 11th, but the 10th, that's worn down. They've gone through a few arms to get to the extra innings, and they come up there and you've already got a guy in scoring position. So, man, I just keep telling people, listen, if anybody's having success doing something, they're winning, keep doing it until you stop winning. But the bottom line is, long run, play under in the first 5 innings or leave it alone. I don't know what you guys are talking about with these minor league parks, because the Cubs in a 3-game set against the Athletics scored 18 in one, 7 in another, and 10 today. I think these parks are going to work out great. By the way, I just have a great idea, because I grew up a Cardinal fan. I became an Angel fan when I moved out here when Socha was managing. I was a catcher back in my day, and him being a catcher was one of my favorites. So I gravitated towards the Halos. Plus, it's an easy jump on the freeway to get down there and see games. But I'm watching the game again today, and there was an Oakland Athletics crowd at the St. Louis game. And the people of St. Louis are pissed about the non-activity in the offseason again by the Cardinal brass, by the fact that reportedly the Cardinal brass doesn't want former players like Jim Edmonds around, and so they are not showing up. So great idea. We'll take the Cardinals in Vegas. We got a stadium being built. Send Oakland back to Oakland or keep them in Sacto. I'm all for it.
That's crazy, though, for that fan base
Can you believe it?
not support that.
The greatest fan base in the country.
Yes.
Number one. But honestly, they've grown accustomed to a certain brand of baseball, which was a lot of homegrown guys every year, spending money properly, and finding the right guys and being in content. Like, they own that division for a while. There's no reason the St. Louis Cardinals should be looking up at teams like the Brewers and the Reds. I'm sorry.
Well, go get Yachty. Ask him what he needs to be the manager and get Marmol out of there. That's a start.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I wouldn't show up there either if Marmol's my manager. Why is he managing the Cardinals?
Got to be getting away cheap.
I'd rather have Riley. We talking about at the top to bring it full circle. Let's get Mike Riley as the Cardinals manager. All right, we somehow brought that full circle. Scott Spreitzer, professional handicapper, and no, for those keeping track at home, he did not wear a Ralph Lauren shirt today
on purpose. I actually thought about it. I said I can't let him bust my chops with another Ralph Lauren.
No, you look stylish as ever, though. That's for sure. Doc Sports, DOC Sports. Dustin's wearing his Ralph Lauren for you.
All right.
DOCsports.com. Scott wins on Twitter. Good luck to you, Scott. We'll talk to you next week.
Same to you guys. Take care. It's always fun.
Okay, smash or pass. We got plenty with closing tabs, and we'll get you updated on the baseball coming up next. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, as we welcome you back. I do want to let you know, first off, you can grab for $158 VSiN Pro subscription. You have to use the promo code SIRIUS. And again, if you're going to bet the Final Four, you might as well become a pro for $1.58 and get the plays, because we've got all the professional bettors, hosts, and everybody over there at VSiN.com handing out the plays. Also, you can now hear every match from the EPL. That's the English Premier League on SiriusXM. From Manchester to Brighton and everywhere in between, you can hear your favorite club in action. Every weekend, listen to featured matches on SiriusXM 157 and stream all the games on the SiriusXM app. By the way, I was listening to 157 today because I bet on the... Who was it? Brighton was hosting Aston Villa, and I had over 2.5. It goes to extras. Aston Villa on the road at Brighton, right there on the water. And Aston Villa, Marcus Rashford got a goal. You remember Manchester United, big guy. Aston Villa is up 2-0. It's 10 minutes of added time. In the 10th minute of added time, Aston Villa picks up a third goal. We go over the 2.5. Brighton did nothing.
How does the extra time thing, do you know how much there's going to be added on throughout the game? Like, when do they announce that? Because if I'm sweating it over, I need to know how much time I've got.
Right, correct. So it's 2 halves of 45 minutes of play.
Uh-huh.
And then when you hit 90 minutes in the second, the referee says this is the added time. So it goes up on the clock. Today it said 10 minutes of added time. So next to the 90 minutes, you have 10 minutes added.
So what is the added time? All the time, like where they're talking about penalties or their stoppages and plays added up? Yeah, I got to tell you.
Stoppages in play, VAR review, anytime the goalie for Aston Villa was dicking around today trying to kill the clock, he got a yellow card. You add that to the added time, and your boy was happy.
Hear me out. It is 2025. Technology has advanced some. Maybe we just, I don't know, stop the clock during all of this nonsense?
Yes, but that is the charm of the oldest and greatest sport in the world, that being football, a.k.a. soccer for the donkeys in America.
So you're saying tradition for the sake of tradition over evolving. I got you.
Yeah, aren't you the one that was into that document or whatever the Netflix show was about the greatest game on the planet?
It
about
was
the beginning
really
of
good.
soccer? See?
Yeah,
and then you were also into your Ted Lasso, which is about soccer. So now you're hating on a sport and you love all the TV.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, here in America, you know what we do? We evolve. We advance the conversation. That's probably why we invented braces and put those on our teeth. And the people in England don't do that. They don't take care of their teeth.
No, you're right. We do evolve because the NBA's figured it out. Right. While soccer is played the same way for 500 years across the world, all of a sudden, 80 years in, the NBA is like, you know what our strategy is? Let's not play the players. You're right.
Well, the NFL is the most popular sport in America. You know what they do? They change the rules every year on you. You just got to learn them.
Correct. And I think, didn't they change the overtime rules?
Yeah, they changed a few things. One is the overtime rule where both teams will possess the football now, which feels like it's smart in 2025 to advance that and not allow a coin flip to decide who wins a regular season game.
Then they didn't outlaw the tush push, correct?
People are very butthurt about the tush push, where 16 teams went against it. That wasn't enough, so they had to table it. And their big thing is like they're crying player safety. So one side's saying, hold on, we have to think about player safety here. And the other side's arguing, we don't have any data. You need to bring us more information. We need more studies done. It literally feels like I'm living in the COVID matrix again, where one side's saying everything's fine and one side's saying I need more data.
But one thing that you have our pledge here at VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. I've told you that I refuse to JT the donk you. I will not open up the phone lines and ask you about the tush push. That is my pledge to you.
You know what? That's a platform everyone can believe in. That is a platform.
I will
everyone's really
never
good.
steal a day at work by literally giving out a phone number and asking if you believe the tush push should be banned. I will not do it. They can fire me. I'm not going to do it.
No. The only tush push that I'm thinking about these days involves xvideos.com.
What? It seems like a good time you could have brought your girlfriend into the mix and not.
Yeah, I didn't know how that one was going to go over, to be honest. I probably should have, but I thought, go back to Old Faithful, the pornography.
Uh-oh. Trouble in paradise? If he's bringing pornography back, people, we got to start worrying about the big guy's overall well-being. Let's go to St. Louis. We were talking about the Cardinals being in a bad way, which is not great for one of the great sports cities when it comes to, the great sports city when it comes to baseball. Let's be fair. And that is St. Louis. And we say hi to Jim in St. Louis here at VSiN Live. Hi, Jim.
How you doing, gentlemen? Love the show as usual. Just
Jim,
awesome stuff.
good to hear from
Yeah.
you. Good to hear your voice, buddy.
Right back at you, sir. You know what? With the St. Louis Cardinals now, the DeWitts, Mozeliak, he's finally going to step down, but he's going to be part of the organization still. They're not spending any money. Goldschmidt's gone. Arenado, they tried to trade him. We got a minor league team in St. Louis. That's what we have right now. And they talk about, the Cardinal way, the best fans in baseball. Spare me the bull crap, okay? Spare me. I don't want to hear it anymore because they usually get 3 million sheeple to go to the games every year. They're not getting that number this year. They'll be lucky to get 2.1, 2.3, and I mean that serious. It's not going to happen. And the trouble is, he went on the cheap. If he would just invest in this team, the doors, they'd be fighting to get into that stadium. That's a shame, Patrick. Look at Detroit's market. They're a competitive team, playoff team. And you look at St. Louis, compare the markets.
No, it's incredible. Jim, it's great to hear your voice, man. Jim, longtime caller, good dude. Normal guy. You like that. You like to hear just a good, normal human being. The Tigers are a playoff team. I would agree with you. And St. Louis, I don't know what's going on with the ownership situation. Maybe, Dustin, if you could shed some light on that for me. I just know this roster is not worthy of that fan base. That's factual. And the manager isn't either.
I don't know anything about the ownership stuff. What I would tell you is the reason why the roster stinks is because they have failed to find those next up and coming prospects. For a long stretch, late 90s, early 2000s, it was always another guy getting called up that ends up being a stud, also having the pieces to make trades and add guys like McGuire, add a Jim Edmonds. They were always an ultra-aggressive team, not afraid to take on payroll. But more importantly, there was always someone coming up the pipeline. Pujols came up. I remember Bo Hart coming up. Like, they always
How about the poor kid that died?
Daryl Kyle, I believe his name was, right? Daryl
No,
Kyle, yeah.
the kid from Latin America, maybe?
Oscar Taveras. They always.
Is that who it was?
Yeah, Oscar Taveras. And there was a point where I remember they had Steven Piscotty and they had like 3 other similar outfielders all getting called up at the same time. And they just had to trade a bunch of them because they had too many good prospects. Those days are a long time ago. Jordan Walker has not become the player they thought he was going to be a couple years ago. They like the Victor Scott kid who made the roster, who's a good base stealer, but they just don't have the studs. They don't have the stars. Like, even back then, even with the kids getting called up, they weren't afraid to make a move and go get a Scott Rowland. So they were the Dodgers. What the Dodgers are doing now, that's what the Cardinals did. They had a great farm system that they based everything off of, and when they had a surplus of talent at a position, they made trades to add superstars who were available on the market.
Yeah, you're right. Tavares, dude, he died at 22.
Yep.
He was from Dominican Republic. He essentially was a 20-year-old playing in the bigs.
Yep. And he was a stud.
So, yeah. Total stud, lefty. I remember when he passed. That was horrible.
Everything pointed to him being like everything that you wanted out of a superstar prospect. Everything said upward. He's a middle of the order bat, special player, and then just gone one day.
Yeah, died with his girlfriend in a car accident in Dominican Republic. Terrible. You hate to see it. That reminds me of the great pitcher for the Marlins who passed way too young.
Jose
on the boat.
Fernandez.
I mean, he was going to be a Hall of Famer.
That was because he came back from injury. He looked stronger than ever. He had electric stuff. By the way, the Dodgers home run, Michael Conforto, his first of the year. We're now at 3 runs. We need 2 more to go over this team total.
We're going to get there. They're going to beat. They have to get there because they're going to beat the Braves, and the Braves have 5 wins.
Exactly.
5 runs, pardon me. So by my math, 6 runs is more than 4.5.
Exactly. Tough outing for Blake Snell, though. At the same point in time, the Atlanta Braves coming into this game, I have the numbers here. Let me just pull it up real quick because they're insanity for that lineup.
Why don't you tease us with the Braves numbers? We'll come back, give you those numbers, and also we'll close tabs. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Time to wrap up today's show. You see what I did there? Yeah. By finishing all of the conversations we touched on today. This is Closing Tabs.
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. Great job, Nia Hardman, New York City. Ryan Smith, as always, in Las Vegas, running YouTube at VSiN Live. Help us out. Subscribe, thumbs up. We appreciate all the assistance there. You want to pay off your Braves statistical tease?
Yeah, so coming into today, the Braves, first 6 games of the season, they're hitting 137 as a team. Couple notes on that. That is the last Braves team to bat that low over any 6-game span was the 1942 Boston Braves, but bigger than that, that is the 4th worst team batting average through a team's first 6 games since 1969. That's how bad the Atlanta Braves, an offense that we expect to put up big numbers all year, that's what they've done through 6 games, 137 batting average.
Well, lot of season left. The Braves not exactly raking early, though they did rake early in this game here at Dodger Stadium as they do lead 5-2. However,
5-3.
we're going to get our over. No, excuse me, 5-3. Conforto with the solo shot. Oh, shout to the Metsies. We just need 2 more, 5 through 9 with the Dodgers. Let's close tabs before we get out of here.
A few things to clean up here. I mentioned the whole carrot dangling strategy. Didn't know where it came from. Apparently, it comes from dealing with a stubborn donkey. So you dangle the carrot 2 feet in front of the donkey's face, and the donkey just tries to chase the carrot, moves it along. So donkey's the originator of dangling a carrot.
So this show for me is when it's your time to talk, it's me carrying, it's dangling
over here.
a carrot
Come
in front
over here.
of you. He'll get there. He'll get there, donkey.
Don't get sidetracked. Back on the road. Yeah, that's what that is right there.
He'll get there, donkey. It's the irony is you got sidetracked with the donkey and the carrot. So
the donk the donk needs a donkey. Let's see. The phrase discretion is the better part of valor. I believe Noops Christensen said that.
Yeah.
So it means sometimes wiser to avoid a dangerous or potentially problematic situation than to confront it bravely, prioritizing caution and prudence over recklessness. It originates from William Shakespeare in the play Henry IV. A little bit different where a quote we had yesterday where we thought it might have been Gandhi or Buddha from Mike Randall, and it was Bum Phillips. So a little bit different between those two.
Hey, anytime you can bring Bill Shakespeare into the mix, you know it's timely.
You mentioned the name Bethany Frankel. I don't know her from reality TV. However, I know her from TikTok because I follow her, and she does great reviews of cottage cheese and bagels. And because of her, I've changed the cottage cheese that I buy for my home. That's what I know about that woman. She's fantastic at it.
Yeah, no, she sounds great. You're 40. You should probably get off TikTok.
Okay. Let's see. Babe Ruth. Big issue started the show. You were not happy because I was concerned. I want to know if Babe Ruth had syphilis. So it turns out he did not die of syphilis. However, he died of throat cancer. There was a mention from an LA Times article that Ruth missed 7 weeks in the 1925 season with an intestinal disorder. People claim that actually might have been syphilis.
That's what I'm saying. I did the book report. I mean, you fact-checking me on an STD was a wild move.
I was like, I didn't know. I didn't know. It makes sense.
No, I know, and that's the point. Neither did I. I just wanted to keep it moving. Put the e-brake on the program and asked me, did that really happen? I don't know.
I thought it was a
here,
fun
big
fact.
guy.
It was It turns out your
No,
shtick was true.
Hey, anytime you bring up syphilis, it is fun.
Well, not for the parties involved. Finally, it is also National Peanut Butter and Jelly Day and National Ferret Day, which I think is perfect because everyone knows a stoner who wears a poncho that eats peanut butter and jellies while also owning a ferret.
Yeah, ferrets. That's if you're NCAA tournament, that's a 16 seed when it comes to pets.
Oh no, I hate snakes. I'd rather walk into a house and see a snake than a ferret.
Ferrets, you know what they do? Hide in couches.
No.
And you go to sit down, and they just pop up. Ratty ass.
It's a rat / dog.
Scott Spreitzer, thank you. Aaron Halterman, thank you. And Noobs Christensen. Naya, thank you. Ryan Smith, thank you. syphilis should get a shout, and the big guy. We'll see you tomorrow. Tom Burns coming up next. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio.
All right.
How was that guy?